gotta go. I'll get my car. I brought mine. Yours. I gotta get me one of those.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bat Dan's Interviews. So, you all know that I'm a big supporter of this movement. Hashtag, sell ZSJL to Netflix. Hashtag, sell SnyderVerse to Netflix. And I got my brand new shirt designed by the good Austin. So, you may remember I interviewed the creator of the movement, Skywalker the Jedi. But there's another key player in this movement who's really helped develop and shape up the movement a lot more. And I'm honored to have this person on my channel, so allow me to welcome Leon of the NuGeekz. How are you?
Bat Dan, I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you having me here. Doing well on a nice sunny day down south, you know?
Yeah, very cloudy day up here in Chicago, unfortunately.
From the Chi-Town, huh?
Yep.
That's what's up.
Well, the burbs anyways, but yeah. So, nicer weather at least, but I'm really honored to have you on my channel to really talk a lot more about the Cell movement. And who we got in the chat? Oh, we got Super Bro Corey in the chat. What up, man?
What up, Corey?
So, just for a brief movement, like for anyone who doesn't know, like what is this Cell movement exactly? What is the Cell SnyderVerse movement?
In short, the movement is, I like to say all the time, it's just the evolved form of Zack Snyder's fandom, you know? A lot of us are still the same people that have been around since like day one. It's just that for this evolution of the fandom or the messaging of the fandom, it's just been spearheaded by a few individuals, you know? The idea stemming from Skywalker, you know? And it came in a time. Yeah, shout out to Sky, man. And it came at a time when, you know, we thought we were down and out, you know. We thought everything was great. We were hearing things behind the scenes. We were even seeing things kind of in the forefront. And, you know, Black Adam came out and it had people on the fence and divided. You know, people have their preferences of how movies are shaped how they're formed, and I completely understand that the fandom was kind of on the fence and acting the way they were acting towards Black Adam. I 100% get it because, you know, you just can't trust these studios, right? So,
Oh no, we cannot.
you know, so when Black Adam came out, everybody saw Henry Cavill, uh, and we thought everything was in the bag. After that, Henry Cavill did a career interview of sorts. I forgot the gentleman's name that was the interviewer, but he's pretty chill and impartial.
Someone comment in the chat if you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Zack Snyder even came on during that interview and showed a lot of love and gave something of a hint of sorts, potentially, right?
Zod writer. Yeah, exactly.
What up, Zod? Yeah, you know, you remember that, right? It was like he said something to the effect of he's the greatest Superman ever, and it's his Superman, and he can't wait to work with him again. And it got everybody hyped. So we were all like, this is the whole restore portion of it, right? It was like, oh my God, this is gonna happen. You know, we got Superman coming back, thanks to a lot of things that happened behind the scenes. No small part in $7 helping that happen. Thanks to them, no matter what people may feel or whatever. $7, they tried to do something, and they were the only ones at the time that brought back anybody Zack Snyder related, actor, character, or otherwise, right?
Yeah. Hashtag Team $7.
At 100%. You know, and after that, we were just kind of resting on our laurels, so to speak, and awaiting something. And then D-Day happened. When
okay, this guy.
Oh yes, Josh Horowitz. Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Shiny
you,
Flicks. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was Josh. Josh, I've never disliked. You know, he's always come off as very cool, very fun, impartial guy, and very pro good movies in general. He doesn't seem like he's trying to just gain access. He just likes movies, and he has a great way. He's found a very like, I almost want to say niche, even though it shouldn't be niche, but he's found a way to like discuss everything in entertainment without sounding like a shill for a studio or a particular director. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's really good at it. But anyway, I'm giving like kind of a long-winded sort of origin story to all this, I guess, but like it just kind of begs remembering and reminiscing, I should say. But yeah, so D-Day happened. We had a couple of studio heads named and a studio created in DC Studios, and we still thought we were okay, I guess. And then it finally came out, the slate and the bad news, and a reboot, etc., etc. And I think I was one of the first people to kind of reignite that whole, you know, I'm not rocking with James Gunn, fire James Gunn sort of thing, right? They even wrote, there was like a couple of articles showing my tweet, and I wasn't the first to say it, but I was like probably one of the first ones to reignite that. And then Sky came along after several conversations he and I had, and was just like, I got something for us. And I was like, I'm 100% on board. And I remember thinking to myself before he dropped it, this is kind of bulletproof, you know? And then like literally when he announced it on the stream, it just hit me like that to add one more hashtag, because, you know, there were so many that already existed. And we know Twitter has a rule of 2 when it comes to trending. And so we knew the purpose for hashtags ZSJL to Netflix was always to focus our messaging towards getting Netflix to pay attention to what we're saying, showing that we're a substantial subscriber base, that we're a hungry fandom, and we're ready to absorb any and everything they will deliver in regards to ZSJL. and the SnyderVerse. So with that, I thought about all the different ways that this can be torpedoed and undermined by including other hashtags that were Warner Brothers related, right? And it wasn't to diss those hashtags. It's never to diss those, because I've used them plenty of times, and sometimes I still do.
Same for myself.
Right. But we know that those hashtags come with a stigma. And I'm not talking about toxicity, even though that's one thing too. I'm just simply referring to the stigma of the old regime and even the current one. All those hashtags are simply of an old messaging, right? And no matter anybody's feelings, Warner Brothers isn't listening for whatever reason, whether it be financial, whether it just be stubbornness, and they just want to push forward with whatever they want to do. They're not listening to those hashtags. So I immediately thought of hashtag sell SnyderVerse to Netflix, because it's all encompassing. It's the Air cut, it's the Batfleck movie, it is Man of Steel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. It's a lot of things, right? The movement itself is sell ZSJL to Netflix. That's the banner. The SnyderVerse is all encompassing. ZSJL itself represents the Emerald Cut and sequels, many different layers, right? But those two hashtags were needed to wake up the fandom, give us a new hope. No pun intended, Mr. Skywalker.
Star Wars Day weekend too.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's pretty much what the purpose was, to focus all of our messaging, our energy, our passion, and our talents in the direction of Netflix. That does not mean that what we're doing is exclusively just to Netflix. If another streamer wants to step up, if Amazon, Hulu, Peacock, whatever, and any streamer that can afford it wants to step up and throw that hat into the race, go for it. But we're focusing our messaging towards Netflix for obvious reasons. One, Zack Snyder. Well, Paramount is the most paramount of all reasons is Zack Snyder has found a home there, and he's cultivated his franchises there, his current franchises. They respect Zack Snyder. They give him room to wiggle. There's so many different things I can say about their relationship that we can see with our own eyes, and also that we've read and heard from Zack himself. So that's one thing. The other thing is Netflix is just, they have the money. They have the money to secure this. That'd be up to them. If Netflix doesn't want to do it, or if it never happens, I'm okay. You know, what I wouldn't be okay with is knowing that this idea exists and I just sat on my ass and did nothing. I'm okay knowing that I joined Skywalker and helped to possibly get this done, right? Just as a fan. I'm okay with that. And then it not happening. I can live with that. What I could not figuratively live with is sitting on my ass knowing that I did not help when I knew I could have and should have. And so that's kind of been my thing behind the scenes, just putting out fires, calming people down, straightening out messaging. People just kind of come to me at times and ask me questions like, well, should I say this? Should I say that? What should I say? Blah, blah, blah. Even outside of the Trinity, right? There's been people that, and I love that and I respect that and I appreciate that people see me as someone who they can ask a question and say, did this sound right? You know, can you type up a quick caption for me on a video? Can you type up some messaging for me real quick? Can you iron out exactly what we should say in regards to this situation or that situation? Like, there's been so many different things behind the scenes that, like, I've added a voice to that people just don't know. And I don't even want to talk about it because I'm not a clout chaser. You know, I'm not somebody who seeks attention like that. Like I may be boisterous and arrogant sometimes, but I don't care about clout. Like you see my YouTube channel. I don't really, I don't really do a whole lot.
Oh yeah.
You know. So I'm happy being the guy in the shadows, so to speak, right? That's why I guess, I'm the Batman of the crew, right? I'm just the guy in the shadows and I do certain things. So I hope that long-winded explanation explains in some way our movement and kind of my part in it,
Yeah, definitely great answer. And it's just, one thing I really love about what you added with the SnyderVerse Netflix is I've said that in hindsight, one thing that wasn't great for the restore of the SnyderVerse movement was a separate hashtag for every project, like the Batfleck movie, like Man of Tomorrow, like the Air Cut, because it essentially cannibalized the hashtag. That's why I really love what you did with the sell SnyderVerse to Netflix with that hashtag to kind of simplify it. 2 hashtags, and we'll get more into that later. But first, I want to go over the very beginning. Like, I want to go over your history as a SnyderVerse fan. Like, when did you first become a fan of Zack Snyder's work?
Oh, that's a great question, man. I appreciate that. When I first became fully aware of Zack Snyder was 300, if I'm not mistaken. Like I've watched all his stuff prior to that, before even 300. Like I watched Dawn of the Dead. Hell, I even watched the Michael Jordan documentary from back when, and I own it now. It's a documentary of sorts, and I watched it. When I was a kid, I'm a big Michael Jordan fan. I had no idea he did that. So I was like, oh shit, I've been kind of inundated with Zack Snyder without even knowing it. 300 is where he got on my radar. Watchmen solidified him for me. I remember distinctly going to an old acquaintance of mine, or associate, I should say, of mine, who owned this comic book store. I've talked about it on stream before. Hey, Retro, what up? Retro, that's my girl right there. So an old associate of mine, I remember when Watchmen was kicking off, that's the comic that everybody said is, I'm gonna just make up a word here, undirectable, right? Quote unquote. It can't be done. And I had known about that project behind the scenes for like over a decade. You know what I mean? Like that project is not new, or was not new at the time. It's been passed through many hands. And then it went to David Hayter, who happens to be the voice of one of my favorite video game characters and characters of all time, Solid Snake. So Metal Gear, like it's so many different things that tie into why I was very intrigued by Watchmen. And then it gets in the hands of Zack, and I'm like, oh shit. Oh, this is about to be a banger. This dude. And then that trailer dropped. My God. Do y'all remember that trailer? Was it Sing a Happy Tune?
I've never actually seen the Watchmen trailer. I think that was before my time.
Bat damn. Well, you need to make it your time now, brother. You need to watch that. The beginning is the end of the beginning is the end from Smashing Pumpkins. That song is in the trailer. It's a life-changing event. That's one of the greatest trailers I've ever seen in my life. And I bought the comic, like the hardcover special edition version. Went to the theater, watched the hell out of that movie. Came out, I enjoyed the hell out of it. My first thought was, I don't know if people are ready for this, because like it's a lot to take in, And it came at the time when like comic book films were going towards kind of a different direction. It wasn't too far ahead of its time, even though kind of in hindsight it was. But like at the time, it kind of had its place, I can't remember exactly the year it came out, but for some reason I remember like the Dark Knight trilogy era being around that a bit, if I'm not mistaken. I really don't remember the year, but I just remember going, all right, people. Okay, so I was right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Dark Knight just come out a year before. So, and Zod is right. The actual, I have the Ultimate Edition. I actually made a steelbook. I took a steelbook and I did a few things to it, and I made it to where it can fit every edition of Watchmen that's out there, right? As far as like director's cut and theatrical cut and ultimate edition and the motion comic, it's all in this one steelbook that I made. It's custom made Watchmen steelbook. I should have brought that to full circle. I didn't even think about it. But yeah, that's pretty much what got me into who the hell is this guy, this Zack Snyder guy? Because he knows what he's doing, you know?
Exactly. And I gotta get
Right.
something real quick based on
for
your
sure.
last answer. But while I go get that, I'll
Mhm.
be listening still. Talk about
Oh,
your
yeah.
experience with Man of Steel, like the beginning of the Snyderverse.
Oh, my beginning with Man of Steel is kind of like, it's dope, but slightly like controversial because I was very well aware of the production of Man of Steel, from magazine interviews to TV interviews to hearing things from behind the scenes, like some strange coincidence of knowing a guy who knows one of the guys. We call him the Snake in the Hat. We all know him in the fandom, right? Ultimate Edition, baby. The guy who, if you guys saw Full Circle, I was the guy who said, "We don't talk about that guy around here." That dude.
Oh boy, we'll get more into that definitely later on.
Yeah. So my introduction to Man of Steel was pretty cool in hindsight. Like at the time, I'm just like a fan who just so happens to know certain people sometimes, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm not really taking in the fact that this information I shouldn't be privy to, but I am for some weird reason. And like, so I'm completely engrossed in like, okay, cool. We got Christopher Nolan, the man who just revolutionized not only Batman, but filmmaking at the time. The landscape was completely freaking changed. The Dark Knight trilogy changed everything. Everything was mimicking it. The Bond series was mimicking it. Spider-Man was mimicking it. There was so many things going on. So we have this man here who wants to tackle Superman, right? And exactly, Flicks. I was like, that's insane. What are we gonna get, right? And I heard some people even then, before it was official, saying like, or not official, but before it picked up steam, oh, it may be dark. And my thoughts were, it's gonna be mature. It's gonna be grounded. What do we get when we get a mature, grounded Superman? Holy crap, right? I was excited. And so fast forward, I'm hearing conversations from an old colleague of mine and the guy who we don't talk about on speakerphone, because like they had each other's numbers and he used to give him exclusives to his shop, you know what I mean? And so he's like kind of bragging about how he's trying to get his way into DC, because at the time he was such a company man, right? It was hilarious because like I distinctly remember him being on an interview saying, we're going to focus all of our characters solo. Our characters work better solo, right? Christopher Nolan never said this. Chris Nolan was saying he's just developing it and he doesn't know whether he's going to direct it. Now, mind you, at that time, he's saying that shit, or we're getting that information, but the decision was already made to get Zack Snyder. You know how this stuff works in Hollywood, right? Like, we hear about it, but it's already done like a year ago, you know? And so at the time I'm reading this, right, about the Snake in the Hat saying, our heroes are going to be solo acts, right, basically, while Marvel's kicking off their universe. Meanwhile, this guy's on speakerphone saying something completely different. You know what I mean? So I thought that was incredibly fascinating to hear these sort of things, because my buddy, thank God, was trying to brag that he had this guy's number. Because at the time, the Snake in the Hat was a hot commodity in the writing world of comics. He was super hot, right?
Oh yeah,
Hell,
I used to like him.
100%. I was a fan as well. And still am an appreciator of his work in comics, right? I can separate the two. 100%. I can separate the fact that he's done some great works, right? But I also know the ego. I've heard the ego out loud on speaker, while my buddy is trying to brag, I'm just like, oh, this is cool, Anyway, so that was like my introduction to Man of Steel before it even hit. So when it finally hit and it was announced that Zach was on board or going to do it, then the world knew like the guy who did Watchmen 300 is going to do Man of Steel. Like that's going to be insane. I watched Man of Steel as early as possible, right? It was one of those Thursday midnighters. And I went with a group. And ironically, I ran into the old high school buddy of mine that I went with because he was a high school buddy then. And I ran into him. I was going to get something to eat late at night. And I ran into him recently. And I was discussing the movement and all this stuff and how I was going to Full Circle. At the time, it was just knowing I was going to California, We'll get into that later, but I was like, yo, this is kind of ironic, man. Like, I'm running into you because I hadn't talked to him in a few years. Not for anything bad, but like, we're adults, we have lives. And then we exchanged our numbers again. And we've been texting ever since, like, we got to get up. Because we're like big geeks. He's a big ass geek. I'm a big ass geek. And I'm just like, the more geeks, the merrier. So, and he actually wanted to come to Full Circle because I told him all about it. And he missed the tickets. He was going to buy some, him and his family. He was going to take him, his wife, and his kid.
Oh,
but he couldn't,
fast.
Oh my goodness. He texted me. He was like, dude, that fucking shit was quick. I was like, who you telling, man? Anyway, we'll get into that. Anyway, I run into him and it just brought it full circle for me. That's the guy, him, his homies, me, my lady at the time, we all big ass group are going to see Superman on the big screen for the first time since that trash Superman Returns movie. And when I mean trash, it was boring. When I mean boring, it was abysmal. Anyway, so we're all like appropriately reacting to every scene. The scene that kind of had us tripping, and hand to God, I was the first one in that theater to like audibly scream, yes, when this happened. It was the end when he snapped Zod's neck, right?
Oh yeah.
The theater was right. The theater was hush. And I was like, oh my God. I leaned in my chair and I was just like, oh my God, yes. And everybody was like, and we all started clapping. It was like, you didn't know what to do. I knew what to do because I was just like, they're really doing this. They're giving Superman consequences, right? And so I was like, okay, that's incredible. Where do they go from here? So we're all talking about it as we walk out. It was just I hadn't had an experience like that since like the Dark Knight trilogy, where I'm walking out of a superhero film and like, other than like Watchmen, right? I'm talking about like how deep it is. And it's just to say this real quick, it's different when it comes to DC. We expect Watchmen to be Watchmen, but like when you take Batman and do what you do with Batman, what Nolan did, and you take what Nolan, Goyer, and Zach did with Man of Steel and Superman, that shit hits way different. You know what I mean? Like you walk out, you have to have the conversation of where do they go from here? Like Superman is forever changed as a character because he's actually going through something. You know what I mean? And go for it. I have a lot of sirens. Let me mute this. Do your thing real quick.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with what you said right there. Is that's one thing I loved about Man of Steel, is that this Superman, there is consequences to his action. Is that he has to make the hard choice, because You know, one thing I find kind of funny is that in Superman 2, Superman needlessly kills a depowered Zod, and no one gave a shit. But in Man of Steel, there are people. Superman kills Zod, and people are like, and he's actually upset about it, and people give Zack Snyder a hard time. But that's what I love. What you said right there is that Zack forever changed Superman, because this is the first time Superman did not become this overrated character. Not this big galoot, haha, but an actual person who makes the hard choices.
Right.
And, you know, everything. I love what you said right there, and actually, so we'll move on to the next part of this story, Batman v Superman. What are your thoughts with that? Like your experience with that movie, your first time seeing that?
Oh wow. Yeah, it's funny because in hindsight, like I'm looking back and I'm like, man, I pretty much had incredible experiences with Zack Snyder movies before I even go see them. It's weird.
Oh boy.
Because like, you know, the Man of Steel thing was like knowing little behind the scenes tidbits, and it's like, what the hell? How do I know that it's going to come in handy later in the future? And they really do. Give me just a moment, one moment. I'll be right back.
Okay. So hold on. Let's see who we have in the chat. We got. But yeah, that's just Henry Cavill will always be the best Superman after Man of Steel, and Zack Snyder wasn't afraid to make the hard choices. And it's funny what Leon said though with Jeff Johns, the Snake, because at the time I was a fan of his work. I was a huge fan of his work. So but lately just unfortunately when we found out more about him, it's not so much anymore. I mean, I still enjoy some of his work, like. Okay, and actually we got.
Yeah, I'm back whenever you're ready.
Okay,
I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was just going on a tangent. Yeah, anyway.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And no, but I like what you were saying. Like, yeah, it's true. Like, you know, I love the work, not so much the guy, right?
Exactly.
And it will make, I don't know if you can make a note, but we'll get into that, man, because that room is electric. Anyway, you asked about BVS, right?
Yes.
My experience with that. So, I was gonna say this about Man of Steel. I can kind of segue that into the BVS thing. Let's not mince words here. Like Superman was boring as shit. As far
100%.
as what the general masses thought, right? I never thought that because I was always reading interesting Superman comics, and at the time there was a lot of interesting stuff going on with Superman. There was Smallville. There was stuff going on in New 52, Grant Morrison's books. There was JLA with Grant Morrison's books in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, Superman has always been an interesting situation. He's always been an interesting character, but for the masses, we've been consumed with like the Reeves portrayal that has been watered down by people's opinions rather than what's actually taking place in the films. People's opinions kind of make it to where even Reeves' Superman comes off sounding boring, even though when you watch the earlier films, they're pretty incredible for their time. They're actually some of the greatest, if not, they're actually among up there. I'm going to say this on record. They're up there with Star Wars as far as what they mean to science fiction. And that's a fact. It got awards for it. Historically speaking, Superman 1 and 2 should be in the same breath as Star Wars. Like facts. The original Star Wars, that is, to be quite distinct here, right? Specific. That being said, with BVS, I think the studio had the same impression about Superman. They immediately wanted to go to Batman. Zack Snyder had already planted all these different seeds, even though the snake in the hat said it's gonna be solo, right? Zack was like, nah, this is what we're doing. we're building a universe. You gave me Superman. I'll teach you how to do this, son. So Warner Brothers was on board after they booted out all the little nerds to try to interfere with Man of Steel. BVS is born. My experience with it was Zack Snyder having a fan event to have fans come see it early. And thankfully, I was able to go to an early fan screening of a clip. It was like a trailer plus a clip. And we got to see Superman and Batman run through the wall in BVS at each other and hit each other, collide and spin. And everybody was like, woo! And Zach and his team, like it was a few people there, and Zach was there. I don't know why I don't remember. Like for some reason, I'm like, whenever I talk about this, I don't bring that part up. He was standing in the middle of the freaking, like he was standing down in the theater in the middle, briefly there. It's because Zach wasn't like a huge name at the time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I wasn't a cultist yet, so you know. But no, he was there. He was there chilling in a shirt. Oh, I've adopted it. Like, sure, I'm a cultist. Fuck you. I don't care. Yeah, he was there in he had a button-up shirt, but it was open, white tee underneath, pants. He was chilling. And like a couple of members of his team were there. He said whatever he said, and he bounced. And that was cool. And you know, they had everybody sign the back of these like little tickets that we got. It was like huge tickets. We had to sign our names and our emails so that we can get the free fan tickets to come and see the actual early screening later, right? And fast forward, the day came and I didn't get an email. And I was like, well, shit, what happened, you know? So I'm doing all this research to try to figure out, like, how do I get the ticket the day of? And this is how I first got on Twitter. Because I don't do social media like that. I just don't see the point. As a guy, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I'm just born in a different era, I guess. Mentally, I guess. I don't get it. But unless it's trying to, you know, you're trying to do something for a cause or make some dough, I don't get it unless you got a brand. But anyway, yeah. So I got on, you know, Twitter for the very first time, and then, you know, I was like reaching out to Warner Brothers, and they reached out to me, and then they sent me my tickets. And I was like, that's dope. So I'm driving there like a bat out of hell, get to the theater, and I showed up late. It didn't start yet, but they closed the doors, and it was like one of those things where, because it was the first time it's going to be screened, right? Like super early. They were like, hell no, we're not opening the doors. They had like bodyguards there and shit.
Oh, damn.
So I like begged the guy. I was like, dude. And it was funny because like the bodyguards, I almost misremembered it, but the bodyguards weren't really tripping. It was the people that worked at the theater because they didn't want to piss off Warner Brothers or the bodyguards. So I asked the body, I was like, yo, because the guy was like, I can't let you in. I was like, yo, you got to let me in this. Talked to the body, and he looked at me, he was like, come on. He pulled me in real close. He opened the door about as small as he possibly could and just shoved me in like basically the crack of the door. And somehow I still have all my limbs. And like he closed it lightly, and I like just had to find the very first seat I could find because it was just me. So I sit down, and then they're talking, and then they finally show the movie, and it was incredible. It was nothing like I expected. I halfway expected it to be, especially after coming out of Man of Steel, it was a very sci-fi First Contact. It was a lot of things. Origin story, adventure film. Epic, right? A lot of shit. I'm expecting not what I got, which was almost like a beefy independent film. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of art house. You had moments where people are acting, and you know, Ben Affleck's scenes really stuck out to me because number one, and I'm a Batman fan through and through.
Same here.
Thank you, Retro. Oh, and I think you know what, Batman? I'm so glad to be with a fellow Batman fan. Like, like you have no idea because you're like one that's authentically a Batman fan. You know, some people like they just kind of know, like you know what's up
Oh yeah.
about the character, and you're
I
just as
love
picky as my
Batman.
ass.
I jumped out of an airplane dressed like Batman. So
You did what?
I jumped out of an airplane before The Dark Knight Rises came out. That summer, I jumped out. I went skydiving dressed like the Christian Bale Batman.
Well, you're officially a bigger Batman fan than me. Until I can top that. That's insane. This motherfucker jumped out of a plane. You heard it here first. I am giving Bat Dan the crown. I am no longer the biggest Batman fan ever. I'm giving Bat Dan the crown. This motherfucker jumped out of a plane wearing a bat suit. Holy shit. I'm never doing that. You got it, brother. He's the king of the Bat fandom.
It's on this channel.
Yo, that's nuts. Well, all right. Well, King Batman fan. I'm just gonna continue because I feel embarrassed as a Batman fan now. I'm going to continue.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry, King of the Batman fandom. This motherfucker jumped out of a plane wearing a Batman suit. That's gangster. Now I got to do it. We got to do that one day. We're gonna schedule that. Me and you, and Trey. We're gonna all jump out of a plane wearing bat suits. I'll wear the Robin suit, you know, just to be nice. Because until we hit the ground, then I'll take my crown back. You know what I'm saying? Until then, I'll be Robin. But anyway, let me stop talking shit. My BVS experience was incredible. We walked out of that theater, you know, applauding. It was very somber. Like everybody was taking it all in. I did not hear one person say a negative thought about that movie. I heard indifference, if anything, like, wow, I'm still processing, or, you know, that was a lot to take in, or, oh shit, the Justice League, it was incredible. And then to go online and see on Twitter all these weird ass bots. You remember that, right?
Yep. Oh boy, I do remember that. Everyone hated the movie, and then people just kind of blindly followed what the critics said.
And this was before it actually premiered. Because again, this is early access I'm getting. Thank God. And I'm over here like, what the hell? They're talking about BVS as if it already came out. And it was just weird. It's going to be like, Sky remembers this phrase way better than I do. But basically, it was something about a tracking shot of rain or something. It's going to be a tracking shot of rain just repeated. And I was just like, what? I was like, okay. I understood at the time, and even now, the purpose of shooting in dark. You know, you hide the flaws of CGI, right? Like you blend it more with realism. That's why Zach uses the filters that he's used on all his DC films, plus dark in certain areas and key elements, key moments. So I got it, but for some reason, you know, anyway.
Haters don't.
Yeah. So that movie had an uphill battle from jump. We had bots on social media. You had the bought and paid for critics who were all on board with shilling for Disney Marvel. For obvious reason, they had access to red carpet events. They had behind the scenes stuff. What Disney Marvel did at the time was they took what they've been doing in Hollywood for years when it comes to these movies. If people think that a lot of these critics are genuinely giving their opinion, like, come on, they're not. They never really have. There's been a few that have. But generally speaking, a lot of these critics are just kind of like, you know, they're humans. They got to eat. They want access. They want to be hoity-toity with all the rest of the Holly weirdos sometimes. Like, you know, so it doesn't surprise me that Disney Marvel took that same culture and just kind of expanded on it to a bunch of little nerds and the professionals, right? So BVS got beat up. I was pissed. And I'm like trying to convince people that haven't seen it yet to go see it. And then when they did, some of them walked out with this like, oh, you know, but Marvel. But most of them were like, yo, that shit was amazing. Yeah, that's what it was. A 3-hour tracking shot of, what was it? A 3-hour tracking shot of every member of the Justice League crying. Something like that, yeah.
I guess Superman should have smiled when his mom was being threatened or when everyone was hating him, right?
Right. And, you know, that's the problem. Syl touched on this recently. The problem with Superman, and you know, specifically, is that you could just make him a guy who just rescues cats out of a tree and out of trees and, you know, saves planes and picks up cars and smashes robots all day long. But like, where's the substance? And, you know, Zach, I understood it at the time, especially when you have Batman taking on Superman. You have to do certain things in order to make the alignment of that situation make sense. You can't just thrust it out there. It's not a cartoon, you know? Heat vision exists. X-ray vision exists, right? There's going to be certain things that just are going to transpire. But anyway, to wrap up the long story of my you know, viewing of BVS, I loved it, and I was always championing it and following it very closely. When it got pulled out of theaters early, the whole release of the physical media, I'd never seen anything like it. I've been a movie fan since I could freaking walk and talk. So I've always kind of paid attention to the behind the scenes, and, you know, I've always wanted to get into writing and script writing and stuff. And I've, you know, written scripts here and there, you know, just as a hobby. So like when I'm seeing all this stuff transpire with BVS, I'm tripping. Like, I've never seen this for this sort of a movie, to where like it feels like the studio is being abrasive to their own product. Right? It was insane to me. You know? So it just kind of lets me know that there was always an agenda, and I was hearing about the agenda before Man of Steel. It started to connect then. I was like, damn, was I hearing this over the phone? Like, that's crazy to me, right? But what do you have to gain? And I mean, maybe it's a crossover, maybe it's a consolidation of characters. Who knows, right? But there's something there, is the point. We can't sit here and be like, oh, okay, they totally butchered the run of BVS on purpose. It was well on its way to making $1 billion, right?
Yeah, even without the 30 minutes.
Facts. Because it's Batman fucking Superman. Well, Batman and fucking Superman. Not Batman fucking Superman, but Batman and fucking Superman.
Oh boy, a lot of memes are going to get created out of this now.
Yeah, snipe that, because that could have made $1 billion in 2. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that would pay to watch Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill gaze into each other's eyes longingly with nothing but their capes on. Shout out to that Ben Affleck scene where you see his bare ass, huh? In the Ultimate Edition.
Oh, yeah. The shower scene.
It's one thing you can't say about Zach, that he's sexist. I've seen not one nude woman in Batman vs. Superman, but I saw a nude man. I saw a nude Batman for damn sure. You know what I mean? Oh man, but I digress. Cheeks aside, no, BVS had some hurdles to jump through, and the funny part is, like, it technically did hit $1 billion, just not necessarily theatrically. It hit $1 billion in merch. When you combine it with theatrical, it hit $1 billion in from the profit that it gained from all the ads. They had Turkish Airlines, they had Mercedes, they had so many different things working with them and working in their favor. Like, and shout out to Deborah Snyder for that, because I know she had a hand in that. If she wasn't the invisible hand in that, you know what I mean? Like, Deborah Snyder's a genius when it comes to like getting people to finance Zach's films. It's quite brilliant.
Oh,
what the
yeah.
Snyders have been able to do.
Yeah, Deborah Snyder really is a key player in all this, and that's what I love about that dynamic of Zach and Deborah, is that they're both equally contributing to the awesomeness of what Stone Quarry produces.
Oh my God, yes. There are couple goals, yo. The quirky memes that go around, they're legitimately couples goals. They were fantastic, even watching them work at Full Circle, and you can see like the familiarity of love from the both of them. It's not like they're still working at it. No, they totally know each other, and you know they complete each other's sentences. They speak for each other. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and as a fan, it makes me happy to see. And I appreciate Deborah for who she is and what she has accomplished with their empire. You know, it's very cool. But yeah, BVS. Love that movie, and that was my experience with it. I could go on forever about that movie, but we ain't got that kind of time, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Love BVS.
Well, actually, we're gonna transition to something less fun now. So you're talking about the
Uh-oh.
agenda, which is very clear in this next movie, Justice League, which for those of you who don't know, is the nickname to the 2017 Justice League theatrical version. So, what's your experience with that movie?
Yikes. So it's interesting because like the very first trailer that I saw was like the complete opposite. Well, no, I'm sorry, I apologize. It was similar to the experience I felt with when I was in Hall H when Zach announced BVS, right? That was another experience I almost forgot to mention. I mentioned it before,
nice.
but like that shit was dope. And an old acquaintance, an ex-acquaintance of mine, I should say, she used to get the hookup to like just pretty much everything involving California stuff. I can call her and be like, hey, I need this, da 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 da. Let me see what I can do, and all of a sudden she's getting it done. And I just so happened to be visiting at the time, for like birthdays and parties, right? San Diego Comic-Con was just happening, and it was a lot going on, and I was just like, yo, can you get me in? Because like I didn't plan on it. And she was like, let me see what I can do. All of a sudden she comes back with passes. So I was like, cool. And I was like, what does it give me access to? Everything. Awesome. Cool. So I'm in Hall H. I see my man Harry Lennox come on. He says the lines from Dark Knight Returns. I'm grabbing the people next to me because we're big ass nerds, and we get what the fuck's happening. I was like, this man is not about to announce BVS or Batman appearing, right? And he did. And that logo made everybody go absolutely insane. So fast forward to the first trailer for what was known at the time as Justice League, right? You could tell that was a Zack Snyder trailer. The very first one we saw. It was serious, but at the same time, like, dope. It felt like, oh, we about to get something, yo. We about to get something dope, you know? And then they did this other trailer. And it was like, you know, they come together, blah, blah. And it was like, all right, cool. It was still okay. And I was like, cool. All right, that's what's up. Then we're hearing about, and I don't even know what came first because it's all such a blur to me. But like, I'm just going to walk you through my erratic thoughts as they come. Sporadic, erratic, whatever. Because I was obviously with that film, I was like super close, as close as I possibly could to information. Like I would magazines, TV, YouTube, whatever. I'm eating it all up, and I'm hearing about like Terrio's process when he came in last minute, damn near, because of script leaks, which people were called conspiracy theorists about, but they damn near told us at Full Circle that's what happened.
Infinity War and Endgame, just saying.
Facts. because I'm looking at like the parallels even at the time of like Marvel pivoting from like the Civil War era to onward, and like DC pivoting, all this weird shit going on. Because I knew as a fan, like Zach shot a lot of ZSJL during BVS, if not all of it. He was going ham. It was BVS and ZSJL part 1 and 2 at the time, just Justice League part 1 and 2. And then I remember that jackass in the hat telling everybody it's just gonna be Justice League, by the way. DC's Justice League. And you know, at the time I'm like, cool, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I guess this guy is the Feige now, which didn't really sit well with me completely, because as a business-minded person, I don't ever want to be up under the wing of somebody who is in direct competition with me. You know what I mean? Like, people always try to make it seem like, and when I mean people, I mean like little YouTubers like Collider and shit, try to make it seem like Marvel and DC are on the same coin. And it's like, they may be a coin. I don't even know if they're on the same coin. You guys try to put them there because you want us to just digest the fact that at the time we didn't realize it, but the fact that DC was probably going towards a different direction, right? And then we find out they did when you walk into the theater of watching Justice League. And I remember I took some of my like most consistent homies at the time. I was embarrassed. They seemed to enjoy it, right? As much as one possibly could, right? Because they're a general audience. What that movie failed though was, yeah, general audience went to see it maybe one time because their nerdy ass friends begged them to, right?
Yep.
And they may have enjoyed it, you know, a bit, but like none of them wanted to watch it again. And neither did I. I represented the base, which is the diehard DC fan, right? So the Batman guy, the guy who appreciates Superman, like, you didn't win me. I felt embarrassed watching it because I knew about the lip situation. I knew about all that shit. And they're just like, they don't know. And they're watching and they're just like, kind of, you know, laughing at certain scenes. Nobody in that theater screamed, hooped, and hollered. There was no moment that made them go, yo! I heard some chuckles. I heard a little laughter here and there. I heard some awkward laughing during the part. I remember this distinctly. The part where the one woman was talking about her husband getting abducted by an alien on the TV screen.
Oh God.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie since the theater, so you have to forgive me of not knowing, but like certain details. But I remember
you
that.
Need to remember those details.
Right. I remember that one though, like distinctly, because I remember people sitting in front of me going, "What?" like that. And then the thirsty thing, just little dumb shit. I was just like, and I remember feeling very embarrassed as a Batman fan watching Ben Affleck, who looked kind of chunky a little bit, say, "I don't not like you," or some whatever he said. I don't know. And I was just like, yo, this is a weird ass movie. And I remember one of my homies said I was being too nitpicky about it, because he told me, he said basically like, oh man, you're too close to it. You're a DC guy and you know movies too much, and you're looking at editing mistakes that we can't even see and shit. And I'm just like, I mean, cool, but do y'all want to watch it again? I literally like, let's go watch it again next week. And they were like, I don't know, other movies are coming out. And I'm like, well, there you go. Either way, this shit didn't make you pumped to see it again. And some of these people went to go see BVS with me a few times after I saw it during the early screening. You know, some of these people went to go see Man of Steel with me a few times. They didn't want to see Justice League more than the one time, you know? I always
Yeah,
fail to remember this. Oh, are we gonna say? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, that shows the value of a movie is if you want to watch it again. If you don't have a desire to watch it again, it's probably not that good of a movie.
Right. Yeah, and I know my shit is anecdotal, meaning it's just my experience with my friends. But according to the box office, I had my experience was probably mirrored similarly worldwide because nobody really went to go see that movie like that. And interestingly enough, like I always forget this, but I saw Justice League again, not paid for, and I didn't stay. Like I went into the theater and I stood in the walkway, and I was just looking at this movie and I was just so fucking baffled by how bad the movie was. And I was just like, I can't be tripping. Am I tripping? Like this is bad. And I'm not gonna pretend like I was some huge like knower of all things Zack Snyder at the time. I wasn't. I had just really started to get into him again, 300 Watchmen, etc. But I wasn't like, I didn't know him like I knew a Nolan. I didn't know him like I knew Quentin Tarantino. I knew him well enough to know though that shit that I watched wasn't his. I was like, this can't be the same fucking guy who made Watchmen, the same guy who made Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. This looks like he would have had to completely compromise and mimic someone else's work. It looked insanely not his work. Like I was like, changing a filter is one thing, right? Adding humor is another, because I knew as a fan reading about it that he was going to like lighten it up, right? Adding humor, changing a filter is one thing. That shit was a drastic difference in styles. And I was just like,
100%.
And I was just like, Joss Whedon, there's no fucking way this guy just kind of did a little something and just followed what Zack Snyder wanted. Because that was the bullshit that, what's that man's name? Not Sujihara, but the other guy.
Toby Emmerich?
Emmerich was literally on record saying that they are going to honor Zack Snyder's vision. I'll never forget. Complete bullshit. I might still even have the magazine that I read that in. And because I would be on the phone with a buddy of mine, who I did not see the movie with. He moved from my state. He moved to another state, and me and him were always on the phone. And I was like, "Well, they're saying they're gonna honor his vision, blah blah blah, this and that." Because even though I wasn't like some diehard Zack Snyder knower at the time, I still wanted whatever he was doing to come to pass, because I know how the studio shit works. Even at the time, I was like, man, they're probably gonna butcher this shit. This is our one chance to make an Avengers impact, and they're gonna blow it. And so I was like, oh, relieved. Like, okay, they're gonna honor his vision. Fast forward to watching it, I was like, they're full of shit. And then rest in peace to John Schnepp for coining the phrase, this is a Frankenstein's monster of a movie. And I was like, okay, I know I'm not tripping. This is a guy who is in filmmaking. He's a filmmaker. He knows editing mistakes. I'm just some dude who's a fan who took some film classes in college. That doesn't make me a fucking filmmaker, right? And even I saw it. So I know if he's saying it, I'm not tripping, So my experience with Justice League was jarring as fuck. And like, it kind of sent me into a deeper path with Zack, because the family tragedy that he had made me very sympathetic and empathetic to the guy and his family. And I was just like, shit, man, that's crazy. And having to do a movie, like, wow. And then to find out, just looking at the movie, that they're relying on this dude. But I didn't know where to put my thoughts or my emotions at the time. I was just like, I'm gonna sound like a nutcase. But I see all the evidence. I've heard the evidence. I've read it. I've digested every interview. Like, there's no way I'm wrong in my feeling and my thoughts, but like I had no one to talk about this with. And then I went to see God, what is that movie? I don't know why I'm blanking. The movie with the guy, he had the chip in his neck and he was Upgrade. I went to go see Upgrade. And it was with my lady at the time. Had a good time. That movie was incredible. And I did a review of it, like just off of my Twitter that I had at the time. And I was already thinking about like doing reviews, and you know, people always say, "Oh, you're a good writer," blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, I like to write for fun and draw, paint, sketch for fun. When I work, it's something that I mentally process work differently than I do. Like, I can never be, what I'm trying to say is I can never be like, well, I'll take that back. I could probably be an artist or a writer and make money, but I would hate to fucking feel like the love and therapeutic feeling I get from art and writing. I would hate to have that diminish, right? But I was like, you never know. Let's see what happens. I start writing reviews on like Upgrade just randomly on Twitter, and the director liked and retweeted it. And I DM'd him. It was Lee Wanell. I DM'd him. He DM'd me back. I was like, oh shit, this is incredible. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to launch this other Twitter account at the NuGeekz. It's always an idea I had going on, right? In the back of my head. A new perspective on the modern day geek. So I launched that. Not a big deal. I'm saying launch like it's some big ass shit. Like I'm Elon Musk or something. But, you know, I make that Twitter account and I start tweeting about, you know, Zack Snyder, DC, Man of Steel, stuff like that. And lo and behold, I think her name is Rigor Morton. She's on Twitter. She's like literally the first person I had contact with that was somebody from the Snyder community. And she's talking to other people, and I'm like, wait, hold on. There's actually people who are like me who think there's another cut. This is insane. So I start connecting with people and I'm chatting with people. You know, at first it's a little bit like they're kind of like, who the hell is this guy kind of thing, you know? And I'm just like, listen, I'm just a dude who's trying to get with like-minded individuals. I'm hearing there's another cut. What's up? You know? And so from there, I'm just like this little foot soldier using a hashtag, you know, and talking to different people behind the scenes. Amen. Amen. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut, the one that started it all, right?
Yep.
And I'm DMing people, and I'm probably weirding people out at the time. They're like, who the hell is this guy? I don't care. I'm jumping into DMs. I got the confidence and personality for it. I'm not some weirdo. Y'all don't know me in real life to know that I'm not a weirdo, but whatever. I'm just going to talk to whoever I got to talk to get information. I talked to Peely Swain. Shout out to Peely. I talked to Will Rowland. Shout out to Will Rowland. I talked to the lame-os from the 40 Club. I talked to some people from TPZ at the time. You know, they were all right with me. And I don't have a personal beef with any of these people. I just know that, like, specifically 40 Clubbers are lame. I don't even have a problem with the TPZ people. Like, they do what they do. The majority of them may be industry plants for all I know. If you know, you know. But anyway, at the time, I'm talking to absolute 100% fans, right? That are just like me, who are inundated with DC and Zack Snyder and et cetera, et cetera. So Justice League, in a way, helped to propel me. Well, not even in a way. It literally helped to propel me into the Zack Snyder fandom, like, deeply, and I have not left since. I remember a buddy of mine in real life was talking shit like, there's Snyder cultists. I said, well, bitch, I'm one of them. He's like, what? And then I show him my account. It's like years ago. He was like, oh my God, I never would have thought you. And I was like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Like, what do you think we're doing? Kidnapping dogs and boiling them down in a basement? Like, what is happening in your mind when you think of a Zack Snyder fan? It's weird.
Yeah, no, we're just people who are passionate about wanting a movie series. That's all. Like any other fan, like Star Wars, like Marvel, like
Facts.
other types of DC fans. We're
Facts.
not any different.
We're no different from bronies, you know. if people can be obsessed with My Little Pony, damn it, I can be obsessed with Zack Snyder, right? that's just how I look at things.
Well,
But
actually, you kind of transitioned us perfectly too. To like, you can kind of transition that into like the Snyder Cut, like your experience with that.
Oh, the Snyder Cut itself. So, man, so yeah, we all know the history of release and all that, and restore and all that, and man, so it was crazy because like I remember the rumblings that we kept hearing before the release happened, right? The little mini fan wars and all this bullshit. And I just remember that day, it felt calm. Like it felt exciting, but it also felt calm in a sense of like, yo, we're getting this. We're getting this. You know? Like there's no way that Zach is just gonna do this screening and like we're not gonna get something in the end, right? TJ. And so and forgive me, chat. I've been like looking away from the screen. I haven't really been paying attention to y'all, but much love to y'all. I look every once in a while. I'm just kind of lost in thought, like, and pulling these stories out of my head. Yeah. I took off work. That's how sure I was.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I literally, I took off work. I was like, I'm gonna need.
Oh, I did the same thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Take my vacation time. Just take a day off. And man, it was incredible watching Man of Steel. BVS, all that stuff. Like I screened it myself, and then I did the watch parties. Like I was super hyped. Like that night, I stayed up, like a freaking kid, and I watched Man of Steel and BVS just by myself. You know what I mean? My lady at the time, she fell asleep on the couch next to me. She had to go to work the next day. She was like, I want to take off. And I was like, you can, you know, if you can go for it, you know? She's like, but I feel like I should go, but I don't know. What if he doesn't announce it? Like she was kind of wrapped up in it in a way like me, but not as deeply as I was, you know? And I was like, babe, just go to work. If it's going to mess you up like that, and you're not even a fan like me, just go to work. You know, she's laughing and shit. So, and I was like, plus, you know, like plus you got a good night's sleep anyway. You slept on the couch, so you're good with my ass. But yeah, man. So it was incredible. Like I just remember thinking to myself the entire time, my God, they have to announce this. And when he showed us that picture, I didn't even flip out immediately. I just like chilled and I was like, man, we're fucking getting it, man. Like, and I was like, right? And then I yelled, let's go! Ah! And I'm like texting people and DMing people. It was incredible. And then from there, the waiting felt like forever to actually watch it. And then the experience of like WB at the time teasing the hell out of us because they're trying to get us to promote the damn thing. You know, promising us Batfleck. Not necessarily promising, I'll take that back because I don't want people going, oh yeah, it's making it lie, because I already know I'm probably getting sniped right now by the haters. The lab rats. Oh, yeah. How you doing, lab rats? Smash the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And also share, you motherfuckers. Anyway,
thank you.
So absolutely. Hell, even the lab rats got to do their part, right? If they're gonna watch us and hate, at least do your part.
Yeah. Give me reviews. Hate watch all you want.
Right. If Dan and I watched your shit, which we absolutely don't because we have better things to do in life, we would smash the like button, we'd share and subscribe and all that. You know, we help your channel, but we don't watch it because you suck. But Bad Dan's awesome. So everybody
Thank you,
subscribe to
Dan.
Bad Dan. Oh, for sure. So that being said, yeah, DMing people, going nuts, etc., etc. The wait was nuts. Watching Warner Brothers at the time tease and mess with us, you know, promising different things here and there. If people don't realize why we're angry at studios, you're hearing why. We've been played with like little toys, right? Like little mice, right? Carrots have been dangled in our faces, and they've been snatched away. Like we experienced that while the release was happening. That shit is insane, right? Where you're expecting the world to be laid out before your feet after the release, and lo and behold, behind the scenes, they're like, hell no, they're just getting this movie, and they shut the fuck up afterwards, right? Like these little, you know, these little peons, you know, we're gonna make them basically promote our shit, and then afterwards, right before we drop the damn thing, we're gonna do an interview, right? After all the cookies and flowers and letters and phone calls of kindness that they've shown us over the years, and the promotion that they're doing now, and the teasing that we're doing to them, we are going to say it's a fucking cul-de-sac, you little nerds. Ha ha ha. Right? You remember that?
Yep, I remember that. Thank you, and Cernoff, for that.
Yeah, bitch. Anyway, so insane, right? All that money sitting on the table, as Zaslav would say, right? So then we hear that, and we're going into the movie, you know, with a bad taste on our mouth. And then before we even officially watch it, someone's leaking scenes online because they saw it on a fucking cartoon.
Oh yeah, Tom and Jerry. That totally was an accident. That wasn't sabotage at all.
Right. After telling us it's a cul-de-sac, right? I was like, are you kidding me? I remember everybody I knew, chick at the time, family, friends, you know, everybody that knows I'm a cultist, was like, some of them text me before I could text them. Like, yo, did this shit really get leaked on Tom and Jerry? And I'll be texting like, how the hell are you? I'm reading about it online, and I'm like, yo, yeah, it did. Coworkers, this is insane. Wow. I'm not gonna watch it though. That's crazy. I'm like, cool. That's what's up. You're not gonna watch it the Tom and Jerry version, right? So fast forward through all of that. All of that was evaporated and eviscerated when you press play, right? Opening scene, DC logos. I almost felt like crying. That movie was so fucking good. If not for the movie being so incredibly epic, it felt like looking at the Iliad. It felt like, you know, the Odyssey, Odysseus. It felt like very Socratic in nature, like poetry and philosophy brought to life. The movie was incredible, right? Especially when you take into consideration, you know, especially when you take into consideration, yes, the studio, and even if you don't get into the deeper things, just the studio mandates alone, right, could be very daunting. You know, you got to make it happier. You got to make, what was the stupid 3 words that the snake in the hat always used to say? Hope. What was the other 2? Hope, some shit.
I don't even remember, but you know, the thing that Superman had on his chest that Zack Snyder said, you know, just saying,
right. Hope, optimism, or something. I don't know, but it was always some corny ass 3 words that he used to say, and you saw that in the film. But they didn't want that. They didn't want epic. Mm-hmm. Exactly, the clown table. And not to get into the weeds, but on a side note, in hindsight, like you know why now. They wanted to streamline Justice League so that it fits right into maybe something potentially in the future, right? A crossover of some sort. They've always been trying to streamline DC to fit better in with Marvel. Like it's plain as day. But I digress. So the experience with ZSJL was incredible. It really was. It took me back to every movie that I had ever seen that left me with an impression of like, oh, this is it. This is a game changer. Going back to like the first film I ever watched in theaters that I can remember as a kid was 1989's Batman. And as a kid, I was like, oh my God. I don't know if I said I'm forever changed, but I felt like it. I'm forever, it's a wrap, right? Fast forward to like Jurassic Park. Oh, I'm done. It's a wrap. Give me all the dinosaurs, you know? Titanic. Even Titanic, bro. I was like, I'm watching a boat sink. This is what it's doing to me? This isn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't a sci-fi movie. This isn't Terminator 2, which is another transformative film to me. You know? Directed by the same man, no less. Like all these different films that have entered my life, and I walk away going, oh, this is everything. ZSJL did that to me, and the one regret, it's not even a regret of my own making or our own making as a fandom, is that we didn't see it in theaters, right? So,
yeah. Except
but I
we'll
tried
get into later.
Oh man, wow. So I tried to make it as movie theater quality as possible. We watched that movie. I remember my lady was like, "Don't watch it without me." I was like, "Man, shit." I watched it without her. It's probably why we broke up. She's probably like, you know what? I can't trust you with a movie. I probably can't trust you with anything. You know. You fucking asshole. You know. But no, like when I had to, I was like, I'm not holding back. I'm the one who's been following this since day one. Like I deserve this. I'm watching this with or without you. Come hell or high water. And I'll pretend like I didn't watch it when we watched it together, because that's what a good boyfriend does. He lies and then acts like, no, I'm just kidding. But no, I watched it. It was amazing. Watched it with her. She represented at the time general audience. Like she's not a big geek like me at all. Like she geeks out over like girly shit, but like not over the things we do, you know? And so she absolutely loved it. One of her favorite movies is actually Batman vs Superman. She prefers that over Man of Steel. Interestingly enough, she loved ZSJL. Yeah, I kind of rate them all. Go ahead.
I say ZSJL, Batman v Superman, Man of Steel.
Okay. I'll tell you my rating after.
Okay.
But yeah, seeing her reaction and the kiddo's reaction, her kid, beautiful kid, she was loving it. 4 hours. I'd never seen this kid sit down for a movie that was 2 hours. Obviously, of course, she's a kid. She gets up. She watched it and like would jump around like in front and then like sit down. It was incredible to watch this kid absorb this 4 hours, and none of us walked away saying it was 4 hours. We looked at each other and we were like, so what's up? And everybody had their opinion. It was all good stuff. And one of the first things was, I'll say, okay, so when are we watching it again? We have to find the time to watch this again. And we kept planning it. And I was just like looking at it and I was smiling like, this is so cool. You know, I go to work the next day, or whenever I went back to work, and all my coworkers were like, I saw it. I'm like, what'd you think? I loved it. It was incredible. It was better than Marvel. Like da 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 da. And I'm a huge Marvel person. Like this and that. It just felt real, and it felt like adult, and it felt mature. I didn't feel, lame watching it. Blah, blah, all these different opinions. One of my friends from Jamaica, she's like this incredibly attractive Jamaican woman. Just like hella attractive. Every time her and I go out, like people are always like, damn, like looking at, she does not look like a geek nerd or anything. Hella fine, this woman. Soothing, beautiful accent. She was telling me about her experience with ZSJL. She was like, me and my boys watched it, blah, blah, blah. I won't do it justice, I'm a man. But it was just so beautiful listening to her. I'm just like, okay, general audience, what do you think? Damn. So this movie hit everybody. Every time I heard an experience, I was just like, damn. I was actually more happy to hear about what other people outside of us thought than what we thought, I wanted to know, like, I wanted Zack Snyder to be validated. I did. I did. And I felt like, from my anecdotal experience, that he was validated. And then the critics validated him. And then the general audience score validated him. It's one of the highest rated movies of all time, but also one of the highest comic book movies of all time. So that's dope. The experience with ZSJL was one of the most satisfying and greatest I've ever experienced, because it came through such turmoil. So I think I might have had the best experience with ZSJL out of all the movies that he's made overall.
So before we move on to the next section, then what's your ranking of the 3 movies? Like which first, which second, which third?
So it's gonna sound like I'm doing too much, but y'all know me. I always do too much. I don't rank them 1 through 10. I go like
which one's your favorite, least favorite? I mean,
well, this is what I do.
okay.
The whole point of me saying this is like I rank them all the same. They're all S class to me. They're all masterpieces, right? And then after that would be like, Wonder Woman, and then below that would be like Aquaman, then below that would be, you know what I'm saying? Like I rank them because, in my opinion, when I watch Man of Steel, it's such a satisfying experience, and it lives in and of itself, until you see BVS, right? And it's just like, holy shit, he was able to add to science fiction with this film. He added to sci-fi, because when you're doing something new with Superman, you're adding to sci-fi. Or if you're a certain Jimmy Pistol, you may be subtracting from it. I don't know who. I guess y'all will see, because I ain't watching it. But anyway, I digress. So I put it in the masterpiece category, along with The Dark Knight, along with Joker. Joker is a masterpiece, in my opinion. And then there's BVS, which is a whole different beast in and of itself. And it's a different experience. It's more that, like, when you want to get those art house moments, along with the epic, along with like that grounded realism, what would reality be if Superman and Batman existed within it? Beyond what Nolan did, he passed the baton to Zach, and Zach was like, I'm going to elevate this material. You get BVS, masterpiece. ZSJL, my God. What do you get when you slam all those ideas together? What do you get? You get the Iliad. You get you get it all. So I can't say which one's better than the other, because I feel like they're different, but they're all masterpieces. So I just kind of rank them all in the same S tier category,
Fair enough. And so the next section, we'll kind of go over we'll kind of make this like one question. So basically, like, what's your like history with SylNation and the Cool Team? I know those are 2 connected groups that you and actually myself heavily affiliate with?
Oh, 100%. I would even throw in the MikeyVerse. And when I mean throw in, I mean that affectionately. I would gently lay the MikeyVerse within that, right? And so my history with that is like, you know, when I first started watching Syl, I first saw him in like, that's what's up.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me fix something.
Bat Dan on the job. I like it. I like it. So like, when I first saw Syl like in on like affiliated with like Lightcast and you know, other lame entities that I'm not gonna name, but and I first when I saw him, I was like, that's cool. Like he's a geek, but he's not a lame. You know what I mean? Like I when I saw him, and and listen, I may sound pretty judgy throughout this interview. I kind of don't give a shit. But
that's okay. I don't mind at all. I like people to speak their own truth on these interviews.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't mean to sound like some big dumb jock at times, but you know, whatever. He just wasn't lame. And what I mean by that is like he's a genuine guy. He's someone who's not trying to throw someone under the bus or, you know, he's gonna bend the knee for clout. That's what I mean by that. He seemed like a guy who stood on his own and just wanted to kind of get inundated with people and, you know, find his lane. And so when I would see those things, I'll be like, yo, that's cool. It's funny because the person I was with at the time, she actually thought Syl was cool. And she is an interesting Joseph character. I keep referring to her because a lot of my time in the beginning, I knew her. You know what I mean? So it was just interesting to see that outside geek perspective because she's not a geek, and to see her go, oh, he seems cool, and then to look at like Lightcast, for example, and go, he seems like an arrogant asshole, and it was like, oh, that's funny. You must be a prophet. Anyway, and then I'm watching Syl, and I would always ask people like, where do I find his channel? Because I can't find it. Every time I would type it on YouTube, I couldn't find it. And I don't know if he was doing a lot or what, but I couldn't find it because I kept hearing him say he was going to do a channel. And when I finally saw it in my recommendations, I was like, oh, dope. That's the dude I kept typing up and I couldn't find. So I found it. I started watching it from the bourbon streams to the clapbacks, all this stuff. It's cool stuff. And I remember just thinking the whole time, like, I feel like I'm cut from a similar cloth as he and vice versa. And I would love to get on a panel one day, right? That was always kind of like a little nerdy dream of mine. Like, let me get on his panel. And I know that sounds probably stupid to a hater. Like, why would you dream of being on the YouTube channel? But it's lonely out here on these geek streets to find somebody who was cut from the same cloth. Like, you can throw you know what I mean? Like,
I totally relate to that, honestly. Like, I feel the sense of community here with you guys, all on this YouTube community work in SylNation.
100%. Like, and as someone who probably sounds cocky and arrogant, I have zero trepidation about admitting that. Like, I'm a geek through and through. My fucking name is the NuGeekz. So, you could chuck a rock into a crowd of nerds and hit nerds in a convention. You're never gonna hit a Syl. You know?
Yeah.
They're few far and in between. So he took me back to like the days of when my buddy had his comic book shop that kind of gave me all this information inadvertently, right? That shop, I'll never get that feeling again. Well, I take that back. We can have that feeling again, right? But it was such a lightning in a bottle moment in my life where like I've achieved things here and there, successes here and there, on many a level, superficial, romantically, blah, 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 monetarily. But like when you can just chill and sit back and be a geek and a nerd and be cool, it's a different feeling of like, man, that's what Syl gave me. I was like, damn, he reminds me of that time period. I don't even know this guy. And so I'm seeing everybody around him, rocking with him, Abu Nas, Peely, Skywalker, you know what I'm saying? Like all these dudes. I was like, yo, these some real motherfuckers, man. That's what's up. And I would always tune into them, like, because I rarely subscribe to people. And then like one day I was just like, yo, because I don't donate money or do memberships. I just don't. That's just me. I don't know. And one day I was like, yo, how do I become a member of this dude's channel? I said it in the chat. Like I had rarely spoken to chat. And one of the few times I did, I asked that. And then everybody was like helpful in getting me, involved and making me a member, because I was like, I'm trying to do this shit. I'm always on my iPad or my phone, right? So I'm like, how do you do this? And people were like, oh no, you got to go on the computer because YouTube is weird. And I was like, all right, cool.
I know that.
Yeah, so like there's so many people that probably would be a member of different channels across YouTube that just aren't, because of how ridiculous their system is in that regard. Maybe it's changed, I don't know. But I went on the computer and I became a member. And I remember a chick at the time, which is very interesting. She was like, why would you spend money on that? And I'm like, why not? I'm supporting a brother and I'm supporting a dope ass channel. Like, why not? Why not do it? I have the money, hence why the lights are on. But anyway, and so I just had a good feeling for some reason, like I should be doing this. And I don't, when I get those feelings of like, it almost feels like it's coming from some outside source, and it probably sounds ridiculous. Don't care, but I was like, I should be doing this. And the rest is history with SylNation, right? Cool Table. I remember seeing Sky all the time and seeing his streams. I'd just be in his chat, and like he would always pick my comments because I would say some like shit that was like I'm trying to add to the conversation. And I saw how he was very inundated with his community and talking to everybody, and I was just like, oh, this is a genuine dude. Like he genuinely just cares about people and reaching out and having discussions. Like he's not trying to be some weirdo clout chaser or like be cool. Like you either are cool or you ain't, and he just so happened to be it. And so he's someone else who is like cut from a similar cloth. So watching him do his thing, I was like, man, I would love to get on his panel. Here's someone else who I love to have conversations with, right? Don't know if I'll ever do it, but why not? And then one day, we started chatting here and there. And then one day, like, I saw him basically getting quote unquote jumped on Twitter by a bunch of lames, right?
Oh, I remember that. The betas.
Yeah. And the same betas were in my DMs because I had just cooked one of the betas in one of the spaces. And I was politely cooking him because like at the time, I knew he was a beta, but he didn't have that same energy. And I was just being cordial because I was like, I don't really understand the disdain towards like Syl, Mikey, or anything that's going on, because all the things that the accusations you're hurling at them, like I've seen some of you guys do the same thing. Like the predictions that don't come true, the rumors that don't come true, like it's all the same shit. Everybody just, you have a source, you put it out there, it either happens or it doesn't. It's not a big deal. Who cares? Like this weird little this faux crusade of trying to save fans from false information is bullshit. And that's kind of what I was bringing to the table during that space. And then a particular individual was in my DMs crying about being called a beta. And I was just like, well, right. I was like, well, there's worse things that could be said about a person. And I've seen you say worse. So it's just kind of irrelevant. Like, you live by the sword, you die by it, I guess. Like, if you don't want to be called a beta, don't act like it. Or if you don't want to be called a beta, don't call people names in general. Like,
focus on your content. That's it. Just focus on your... Going on a quick little tangent here. If you're not interested in scooping,
sure,
that's fine. Just don't watch it. Focus on your content. But when you have to put your content focusing on what other people are doing, all that tells me is that your content's too lame to draw in views. It's just, I respect people who don't want to follow scoopers. That's fine. Just don't follow them. Focus on what you're doing. That's it. Sorry, I had to get that out there. Go on.
No, I get it, because like I've said this a couple of times. Like the easiest target would be like Emergency Awesome. I see none of these people go after that kind of a channel. They put like clickbait shit in their stuff all the time just for views. And you know, we all kind of hate it here and there, but like no one's really up in arms because who gives a shit? If he's doing his thing and he's grifting off of false titles, then whatever, man. Just don't watch the guy. I don't watch Emergency Awesome, for example. So that's it. Like that's how I show my disdain. I don't subscribe and I don't watch. What I'm not gonna do is run a stream sniping what he's saying and talking shit. I don't care. But this shit has never been that deep for me, like certain things, right? But like I'm watching Sky and they're talking all this shit, but they're trying to act like they're pretending to play. And I'm like, y'all ain't even cool with this guy like that to be talking to him like that. I'm pretty sure if you knew him and you saw him in person, you probably wouldn't be talking to him like that. So whatever. But it was about like
circle,
like a full circle. So, you know, the whole Man of Steel thing, the guy, Skywalker, said something about the Man of Steel company, and he was linking that to where Zach was, and maybe Zach's hinting at something, right? He's being a fan, right or wrong. He's just being a fan, right? And that was kind of my thing. And I called the guy and who owns the shop, and the guy said, yes, he's in the area. So that's how I got inundated with Sky, and kind of how the Cool Table kind of sparked. Me and him had conversations over the phone, and Scott was like, you know what? Because like when I was on their stream, people were DMing them and telling them, you guys should get Leon back on again. And thank you to everybody who said that. Like a bunch of people were like, oh, no. And I kept hearing that. People kept telling me like, yo, bro, people keep telling us to bring you back, bring you back, bring you back. And I was like, oh, that's what's up. I appreciate that. And then Sky came up with the Cool Table, and he brought on the other gentleman, you know, El Necron and the homie, the Good Austin. And it just so happened that like we all have our little talents. Absolutely. We all happen to have our little talents. Austin is very good at editing. Necron is a huge musician guy and metalhead. And he's also good at interviews. Me, I'm just the personality, and I do other things, whatever, that I've named, you know, whatever. I do my thing behind the scenes, right? And Scott brought us together, and I thought that was such a cool thing because like, it shows like the growth of SylNation and like what SylNation represents is just like community, and where like you can spiral out, like it's almost like a spin-off series of sorts, right?
Spin-off of SylNation, of Syl's channel in a way.
100%. And like, it's funny, when we first started Cool Table, we were called like watchdogs of sorts. And I just was like, yeah, damn right. We're pretty much the bodyguards of SylNation at the time, right? When it was necessary. You know, we'll take up the sword and shield, if you will, to prevent the lame asses from, you know, coming at Syl. And it was never about like, if you have an actual criticism or critique and it's grounded in maturity, I'm down to have that kind of a conversation. But it was always, you know, just utter vitriol and egregious things being said and done. So, you know, of course.
Getting their scoops wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've never seen such passion, negative passion for something so minute. Like, Batdan, tomorrow you can become a scooper, and like, I promise you, I'm not gonna, you know, go online calling you names and calling you out your family out of their name and threatening you because you got a scoop wrong. Like I'm just not gonna do that. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, bunch of psychotic, narcissistic weirdos. But that's kind of what the Cool Table was. They were kind of the protectors of SylNation of sorts. And the
And the
MikeyVerse
MikeyVerse
just
too.
100%, like by proxy, just by association, by earning it. We got inundated with, or I got inundated with Mikey Sutton, man. Like Mikey Sutton's pretty legendary.
Oh yeah,
I know
putting us in
people.
a comic book.
Well, not even that. Like that's just like the cherry on top. Mikey's legendary because he's gotten so much shit right, and he's so plugged in behind the scenes that like when he gets something wrong, quote unquote, you got to jump on him, right? Like if you're a hater, because gotta get him, or if he doesn't say something exactly, you gotta get him. It's like it's like the Michael Jordan effect. That's why I call him Mikey Jordan. It's like when Jordan was playing, and even up to now, he's known as the GOAT. And it's like a scientific fact. It's not an opinion. Analytically and realistically and visually, Michael Jordan's the GOAT. When you look at his track record, you look at Mikey Jordan, Mikey Sutton, his track record is he's the GOAT when it comes to scooping. And like you
100%.
try to pick on the losses, quote unquote, and make it seem like that's something to, you know, bring him down. You know, Mikey went 6 for 6. Like, but what about the first round of the play? Well, yeah, that's when he had shitty sources. He got rid of those. He got good sources now, you know?
Yeah, he even admitted that. He admitted that he listened to the Jeff Johns camp too much, and when he saw more, he got rid of that side. He said this.
100%. Like, there's so many little things that, like, it shouldn't be a contest, really. It should be about supporting a guy who probably has a great track record and just kind of hoping, and even if you're close enough to him, advising him to like vet his sources better, if anything, right? If that's something that he needs, right, said to him. You know, because dude is wise on his own, but he's wise enough to know that advice matters, you know, and getting a second opinion matters. That's what I dig about Mikey. Like talking to him, he's somebody who's been through a lot. He's a worldly guy. He's had wild ass experiences. He's a great creative, you know, and I'm thankful that I'm included in the MikeyVerse in more ways than one.
It's an honor and a privilege.
100%. And you know, that kind of brings me to the network that I coined, the name that I kind of coined, the Syndicate network, because we kept calling ourselves SNTCTMV all the time in the chats, and I was just like, man, we really represent like a network. We have all these different things going on and all these different opportunities and different things that we can create as a team and help others, right? That's another beautiful thing about what we're doing is like we're not trying to hold each other down, we're trying to raise each other up. So I was just like, we're always looked at outside of us, we're looked at as bad guys. I've seen it, like I've seen people talk shit that I just would have never thought. I'm like, yo, y'all look odd. Some of them follow me and they've DM'd me. We had conversations. They've shared secrets with me. Like the Ray Fisher, Sean O'Connell situation. Like some of these people have given me information before anybody knew. And these same people I've seen talk shit about like Mikey and Syl specifically. And I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't get it. But like, that in my mind, I was like, okay, we're the bad guys then. Whatever. What are bad guys? What are bad guys called? Several different things. A syndicate being one of them. So I was like, that's perfect, man. It goes right along with rogues. You know, the
Oh yeah,
rogues,
Phil and Mikey
how
show Rogues Gallery.
that put them on the map, right? So I was just like, wow, that we're the villain theme. The syndicate network is born. So yeah, I mean, if you're, once properly vetted, if you cool people, it's like we have no issue inviting you in and trying to help raise the bar for you. Like we're still raising the bar for ourselves. We're not trying to act like, and I'm speaking for them, I guess, but we're not trying to act like we're like, oh, we're infallible or we're the shit. Like, no, man, we're human and we're doing this as we go along and we're refining everything we do. I'm putting in work where I can put in work. Right now, I'm concentrating on #Sell. Mikey, I know Mikey wants to do something with me. I want to do something with Mikey, and I will very soon. So yeah, it's just cool, and that's right, baby. It is inevitable. So it's just cool to see everything grow. The Syndicate Network, I'm very proud to be a part of it, and to say it out loud is funny and weird at times, but it's dope at the same time. The Syndicate Network, the three pillars, as I coined, the three pillars being Syl Abdul's SylNation, myself, Skywalker, Necron, the Good Austin, the Cool Table, and Mikey Sutton's the MikeyVerse is the Syndicate Network. So yeah. And also, we got homies that are affiliates also. But what were we gonna say?
I just love SnyderVerse comment here. Yeah, it's wacky and it's dope. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. Very wacky, very dope.
And I just, I love this community that because being involved, with all you guys myself, it's a really great way that I've made a lot of great friends with people that I have common interest in. That's why I have nothing but love for this entire community, right? Like pointing to the banner. I guess you can't see that, but right there.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. 100%. I'm thankful for the Syndicate Network. SylNation, Cool Tape, MikeyVerse, for sure.
And it's led you to involvement in, I guess, kind of like what one of the main topics here is like the sell movement. So like the hashtag sells USGL to Netflix, hashtag sells SnyderVerse to Netflix. At a time, we were lost. Hope was lost. Henry Cavill no longer was returning as Superman, which you kind of touched on some of my points in the beginning. So we'll just kind of, I guess, jump straight to when did Skywalker share, like when Skywalker had this great idea with you, when did he first share it with you? Like what was your initial reaction to it?
I remember it was at night. We were on the phone and he was just like each day he was little by little discussing it without necessarily giving it a name. I don't even know if he had the name yet, but we were talking about the idea of something needs to be done, right? That was pretty much the idea, the evolution of that something needs to be done. So like that week. And he and I were both pissed. He was more pissed than I was. Which is probably why he came up with a great idea. I had this kind of, my attitude about it was, F that whole studio and everybody associated with it. You know what I mean? And I was just kind of preparing myself to phase completely into Dreamwalker. And still am, but just like focus all our energy towards that. Because there's also another shoe to that has not yet dropped that we will definitely not say on air. But at the time it was just like we'll just focus on Dreamwalker, and that was before anybody knew about Dreamwalker, right? About it going to live action. So, you had haters that were like happy that essentially Restore got confirmed by the legacy outlets, the legacy media. They were confirming that Syl and Mikey were right, that they were in fact trying to restore the Snyderverse. So at the time, I was just like, fuck it, Dreamwalker or bust, you know? And Sky kept talking that week, man. And like, I remember that night he dropped it on me, and I was like, hell yeah, let's fucking go, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm getting hyped. And I just started thinking about messaging and thinking about, I'm just saying a bunch of stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, definitely. And I'm just like, all right, we got to do da-da-da-da-da-da, we got to do this. I'm just like on it. My mind is a bit of a futurist sometimes. So I was just thinking like, okay, this could happen. Let's avoid this by doing that. And da-da-da. We refined certain messaging. We didn't really get super duper detailed. Because, like, in my opinion, some ideas are left better on the surface, and then, like, you kind of throw it out there and then go deep into it. I don't know. That's how I am sometimes. But when he first brought it to my attention, I was just like, yo, this is fucking brilliant, bro. This is brilliant. And I don't even know if he knew it was going to be successful or get as much noise as it got, right? Got as loud as it got. I don't know that he even knew that. I didn't even have any expectations mentally. I just wanted to make sure the messaging was right. You know what I mean? I don't know why. To think about that is weird, because like I didn't think about whether it was gonna pop or not. I just kept thinking like, all right, so this has got to be what we say. This has got to be what we do, etc. Da 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 da. And then like when he dropped it, that's when I made, like, literally, I didn't even think about a new hashtag up until literally he announced it. And my first tweet has the second hashtag. So right then there, I was like, cool. All right. This is perfect now. We have, nothing in our way, right? And yeah, the rest is history. That was it was an interesting starting point, and the impact that had on me.
How did it feel when like trades started picking up the movement? Like even if Forbes picked up the movement, heck, Skywalker got an interview. It was with comicbook.com. Like how did that feel when you saw that, when the movement went that far?
Oh man. So I remember before that, like I had mentioned in one of our chats, I was like, all right, I think we should do a trending event. Like that's the next thing we got to do, right? And like nobody had said anything yet. Because when I said that, it triggered Sky. He jokingly was pissed because our thing behind the scenes was before he did the hashtag. Our thing behind the scenes was we were like, fuck hashtags. We're just so pissed. That's how pissed we were. And then during that time, he's trying to think of something to save the fandom, right? And then he comes up with hashtag ZSJL. I come up with the second hashtag. And then I'm like, that next day, I'm like, we got to do a trending event. And he playfully gets pissed because he's like, man, we said fuck hashtags and fuck trending events. Now I made a hashtag, you made a hashtag, and now you talking about a damn trending event. It was hilarious. So I'm like, anyway, so what are we going to do? So everybody's pouring in ideas. We're talking about trending events, et cetera, et cetera. And then like around that time period, Forbes picks it up like quickly. And I was just like, yo, this is nuts. And the first thing they pointed out was the positivity. Because that was one of the big things that we talked about behind the scenes, was like, just making sure it's positive. It doesn't mean that we don't have teeth. It doesn't mean that we don't have, any sort of muscle in this. No, I mean, we still have bite. Like if you cross us, it's a wrap. But like, we're not just going to be assholes for no reason. Generally speaking, we're positive. We show people love. We thank people. And, separating our messaging away from certain messaging was never a diss or, never meant to harm or hurt anybody's feelings. It's just meant to say we are talking to someone else and we're going to be as positive as possible, right? But again, if you cross us and you intentionally do it, making, news, movie news for our people, right? I don't know. I'm just gonna say our movie news, for example, instead of being around the bush. If you cross us in a way, it's like, it's kind of a wrap. Especially at this point of the movement, when three key individuals, right? Syl being the guy who has always been very pro Zack Snyder and very pro Zack Snyder fans, gets to go to full circle, right? And then you have Skywalker, who kept his cards close to his chest. And me and him had conversations several times about not telling anybody. And me, who was like, I'm just going to California regardless. And then, due to some chess moves behind the scenes, I'm able to go. Right? You have us going in full circle, leaving full circle with information. We should be elated. So if you leave, if you're involved with this movement and you see what we're trying to give you, right? And you cross us after this, oh no, it's like, it's a wrap. Like, there's no mercy after that. You know what I mean? That's just me though, right? But
you kind of transitioned into the next topic right there.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, what were we going to say? Finish off that last thought real quickly.
No, that's it. Just, I'm not trying to be threatening. No. It's just reality, man. Like, if you're doing something effective and important, like and you cross into a different phase, because we're not the same anymore. You don't go to full circle and then leave it the same guy. You don't go, oh, Zack Snyder talked to us. He gave us the okay on several different fronts. So it's like it went from a viral like to him potentially sending out Wayne T. Carr on Twitter to help us out. It went from that to him telling us on camera and answering directly to Sky, hey man, yes, of course I would love to continue. What happened? Yeah. Yep. That's true. I have to co-sign that for sure. Like, you don't go through all that, right? Like, if I never went and it was just Sky and Syl, or if it was Syl, fucking Zod Rider, and Retro Nerd Girl, like, I'm rooting on whoever goes. A-Pass, Retro Nerd Girl, Mama Bear, all went. And me, Sky, and Syl are watching the shit from our living rooms. We're rooting them on. We're hoping they come back with some sort of grail so that they can pass on information, right? And then they do. Oh, they're going to be set for life as far as the fandom goes. We're going to raise them up as queens, right? So I'm not saying you got to worship me or treat me like a king, but at least give me some respect and be like, yo, good shit, you guys. You guys tried. You got some dope answers, and you gave us more hope. Zack wants to continue. Now it's up to a studio to sell it and another one to buy it. It's that simple. It's literally that simple.
So I have a question. So why not just include Restore the Snyderverse in this message? Why are we strictly leaving out all these old hashtags like Restore the Snyderverse, like Release the Air Cut, like Make the Batfleck Movie? Why are we only using these two hashtags, Sell Zia Shale to Netflix and Sell Snyderverse to Netflix?
It's a great question. I mentioned it a bit earlier, but just to kind of go in depth a bit. Again, the non, I guess, mixing of our hashtags with, well, no, Mama Bear, I was saying you Retro, and A-Pass in my example. Zod Rider was in the earlier example. But I mean, if Zod Rider wants to be a queen, hey, have at it, man. I'm just kidding. But no, seriously. The non-mixing of the hashtags is simply because all those hashtags were for Warner Brothers. Like, they literally were. None of those hashtags were a message speaking towards Netflix or any other streaming platform. Maybe HBO Max. But Zack Snyder Justice League is already on HBO Max. And they're not doing anything else with it. So, Restore the Snyderverse specifically, all those hashtags, they failed not because of the people who made them and not because of the fandom who backed them. No. It failed because Warner Brothers failed those hashtags. You know what I mean? I like that. We needed to reboot and relaunch. This is the same people, right? Same fandom, just with evolved messaging. So those hashtags were failed because the studio, Warner Brothers, failed those hashtags. It was in an article. Restore the Snyderverse, right? Was not done because they're moving on to something else. So why would we use any of those hashtags with a new message? We literally said we are moving away from Warner Brothers. Like, we're literally not talking to them anymore. Like, quite literally. Quite literally. To the point that, like, I know there's people in Full Circle who rocked with us, whether they realize it or not. When the Warner Brothers logo was on screen, it was boo! Ain't nobody rocking with Warner Brothers. We're not talking to them anymore. We saw, we were there, we heard the fans' reaction. So Sky, myself, we have not been in any step of the way. We have not been wrong in terms of gauging the fans' behavior. Sammy as well. We have not been wrong in any step of the way in gauging the fandom's behavior. You know what I mean?
Shout out to you, Sniper Queen, by the way.
She's been a bit MIA lately. We got to chat. We got to chat. You've been MIA, girl. What's up? But yeah, that we have not been wrong about that. We sat in Full Circle and we heard the fans say, well, hey, we don't like Warner Brothers. We don't. They yelled boo at Warner Brothers, the logo. Literally, people were putting up their middle fingers at Warner Brothers logo. So you mean to tell me, and I'm not saying this at you, your question is excellent with what I'm about to say, but those that are trying to act obtuse and intentionally trying to act like they don't understand, right? Or they're upset or they're hurt, or they're trying to twist our words into saying that we think we're better than them, or that the hashtags don't matter because of ego. No. When I say, I'm going to ask this rhetorically, you're telling me the same fandom that I sat in a fucking room with and watched Zack Snyder's films that have never been seen in theaters. BVS Ultimate Edition has never been seen in theaters. ZSJL has definitely never been seen in theaters. You mean to tell me the same fandom that booed the fuck out of Warner Brothers, we're going to use hashtags that are talking to Warner Brothers? Release the Ayer cut. Well, who has the Ayer cut? Bat Dan, can you answer that for me? Who has the Ayer cut?
Warner Brothers.
Right. Does it look like Warner Brothers wants to release it?
Not under James Gunn, no.
Right. And if they do, if they don't, and we want them to, wouldn't it behoove people to use hashtag SnyderVerse to Netflix at the very least and just state what you want? You don't have to put it in a hashtag. You could just say, release the fucking Ayer cut. Why aren't you releasing the Ayer cut? You're telling them by using Sell SnyderVerse and Netflix, if you're not going to do it, sell it to Netflix. Sell the Ayer cut to Netflix, and we can watch it on TV via Netflix. It's something you clearly don't want. Say it again.
They were going to buy the Snyder cut, weren't they?
100%. Clearly, you guys do not want to use the Ayer cut, because if you did, you would have dropped it already. It needs little to no money in order for it to be completed and released. If I'm not mistaken, it's pretty much complete from what I've been hearing.
Rollins said like a little. There was who, for those of you who don't know, he's a guy who saw the Snyder or not the Ayer cuts, and he basically said it was a little bit of CGI here and there, but mostly it was done.
100%. And integrity is right. Divorcing ourselves from Warner Brothers Discovery, who unfortunately had to take the brunt of what the old regime gave them. Sorry, David Zaslav. They had to take the brunt of it. We had to divorce ourselves from anything Warner Brothers related, right? Same thing with Make the Batfleck movie, right? Listen, I'm the second biggest Batman fan behind Batman, the king who jumped out of the plane. You don't think I want to see the Batfleck movie? The fucking Bat, bro. Right? I know you do. Hell, yes, the Schumacher cut. You don't think I want to see the Schumacher cut?
Or the Emerald cut even too?
Right. But specifically speaking of Batman, right? Their crown jewel, right? The moneymaker at DC and Warner Brothers. Batman, right? Dude. All these hashtags scattered across humanity. Warner Brothers has been ignoring them ever since they were called a cul-de-sac. Period. We know that officially after that. This is before the fucking reboot. They were ignoring the shit out of those hashtags. They fell on deaf ears. With the regime change came hope. And then we found out a reboot was happening. And the hashtags became null and void. Which is why Sky said, we're taking our messaging to Netflix. Because Warner Brothers isn't talking to us anymore. You don't even have to be upset about it. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be pissed. If you want to, that's fine. But just use the ROEs and the hashtags properly. We're talking to Netflix. So we're not touching those other hashtags. I mean, if people want to do it separate from ours, that's amazing. More power to you. If you're trying to be effective, just use the two that are talking to Netflix, because Warner Brothers is not talking to us anymore. They don't give a shit. They don't care. Because if they did, they wouldn't be doing a reboot, and James Gunn would not have lied to us. I want to say that again.
About Zack Snyder.
100%. James Gunn would not have lied to us, and I'm going to put it in order of importance. He wouldn't have lied to us about those two directors that turned his ass down and said they didn't want to do a movie with him. They said that. And he said, I never pitched a movie. And they said, oh, well, we must have had a meeting with someone else then. Liar. Ben Affleck says, hey, I would love to go to Full Circle, but I don't want to do a damn thing with the DCU. After James Gunn says he's one of the architects, he calls him. What? Lied. Number 3, last but not least, Zack Snyder was lied on. He wished me luck. He may be interested in the DCU or whatever bullshit he was saying. And I don't want to even make up some shit. Like, a lot of this information I dumped because it's bullshit. And I know where I can find it. But he said that he spoke to Zach, and he basically is okay with all this bullshit, and he's not interested in DC anymore, in the SnyderVerse, basically, to paraphrase. And then Zach does Full Circle, showing he's still interested. And then he says at Full Circle that he's still interested. Lies, 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 this man did. So he's letting you know that them hashtags are falling on deaf ears, period. None of the shit that you want is going to happen while that guy's there under Warner Brothers, point blank. Because they either don't have the money or their egos are in the way, or both. So with that, we have sells yes, yet on Netflix. Sell SnyderVerse on Netflix. It's that simple. Egos aside, what we're saying makes sense and it's effective.
I agree, and you kind of touched a little bit of this earlier, but I guess expand on this. With that, there's this notion that you're banning people from the fandom, that they're excommunicado. Can you explain that a little bit more?
The old excommunicado. Yeah, it was just something fun that I made up, something playful that I got from John Wick, but I do mean it to a degree because it goes into the messaging. And when I speak pretty clearly, I would say. I think. I don't know. Maybe my words fall on deaf ears or people who have comprehension skills or lack comprehension skills, I should say, right? But either way, I say excommunicado because certain things just aren't going to be tolerated, right? We're not going to tolerate people just going off kilter and being egregious towards other people while using our hashtags, right? Like if it's just uncalled for, undeserved, that's ridiculous, right? We don't want to be associated with that. We also don't want to be associated with people who are have total, like, egregious, ridiculous things that are being thrown at Warner Brothers or James Gunn. We prefer you just not talk about them, period, while using the hashtags. But if it's unavoidable, just be cool, you know? And I've seen people throw shots at Warner Brothers and James Gunn while using the hashtags in a way that's not crazy or egregious. I've done it a couple times or a few times because it's just kind of unavoidable. And James kind of gives us the alley-oop because he's such a liar. Or he changes his mind. Forgive me. Oh, I'm sorry. He changes his mind. Sorry. My bad. But no. It's just things that aren't going to be tolerated. And what is not going to be tolerated from here on out, especially at the Full Circle, are people who are literally going out of their way to act like the information that we've given is just nothing. I'm not tolerating that. Especially if you're trying to say, like, oh, I want the Snyderverse to continue, you know, but him writing hashtag Snyderverse and sell it, that just means absolutely nothing. Like, you're blowing this way out of proportion. Like, I'm not saying I didn't want Zach to continue. I'd love for him to continue. Then why go out of your way to diminish the efforts that were made to give everybody hope? Why not prop up the fact that Zack Snyder said, I want to continue the Snyderverse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And additionally to that, when Sky requested for him to write the 2 hashtags, he looked at Sky like, fuck, I can't do that exactly, but let me figure this thing out, right? I don't see what anybody else is taking from that experience of Zack Snyder writing what he wrote. I've seen people say, Zack wrote it because he asked. And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, like, that's what did we pretend like that's not what we were saying? That Sky didn't ask and he tried to deliver as best as he could? I don't understand. Like, we're not lying or twisting anything, you know? So when I see people either twist that or say that it is blown out of proportion or it's irrelevant or you're giving, like, I don't understand it. So I personally am, hey, what's up, Rhea? I saw Rhea in Full Circle. She was living it up.
And we'll definitely talk more about that later.
For sure. When I see people do that, I just, you got to be excommunicado. I cannot walk out of Full Circle with Grails, Sky with Grails, Seal, and then have you look me in my eyes or rather on a YouTube channel and on Twitter, and tell me that what we did in any way, shape, or form isn't amazing and hopeful, and we should be able to be supercharged after the fact. I just got to say that you are going out of your way to be opposition, so I'll treat you as such. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm good. I'm good with Leon's wrong. And hey, he got one wrong, guys. Our movie news is actually a stand-up guy. Well, I'll never know. And I'm okay with that. Because in my profession, I deal with behaviors. And I'm not an idiot. I know a turncoat when I see one, and I hear one. I'm good, you know. So, yeah, that's me on the whole excommunicado thing. I'm not telling people they can't be a part of the family, bro. You can use the hashtags as long as you're following the rules of engagement, and that's not talking to Warner Brothers while you use the hashtag. That's staying positive, right, and only using the 2 hashtags. Those are the rules. Sorry if that pains people, but those are the rules.
And this is what really annoys me when people try to oppose us so much. Why is being negative that important to you? Like being negative, like just don't be negative. That's not a big ask. It's really not.
I don't get it either. Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't understand the whole. I literally, you touched on something very important there. I've literally seen people get upset about wanting to be negative. Like a slick comment every once in a while. Cool. A little slick tweet, throwing a little shade here and there. That facts, Zod. A little slick shit here and there, fine. You know, even what Zod just said, that's not bad. It is what it is. He's not using our hashtags with it. He's just talking a little shit, like whatever. We're saying with our hashtags, with our movement, with our voice in the movement, when we're trending, we're not being negative. Why? What is the passion that you FWBD? Okay, cool. Warner Brothers knows you hate them. All right, cool. What did you just accomplish? Nothing. There's no articles being written about what you're doing with the restore hashtag, the release this, the make that, the boycott this, the I'm not gonna see that, the I like this guy, I don't like this girl. None of these hashtags are being written about. And I'm not saying that out of clout, because I know somebody's gonna be like, oh, you want to be? No, my name isn't being mentioned in this shit, by the way. I haven't seen Leon of the NuGeekz mentioned hardly ever. I don't give a shit. This isn't about clout. The only clout I want is for hashtag sell to win and to be bolstered and to be supercharged, right? I do not see any of these hashtags being used because they're dead hashtags. We have legacy media who's turned their backs on these hashtags. We have the whole studios that have turned their backs on these hashtags. We have fans that have turned their backs on these hashtags. Them motherfuckers don't trend. I'm only stating facts. Trending in the 1,000 per entire day. I said 1,000 per every once in a fucking blue moon isn't anything. Hashtag sell trends on a daily. Organically. No bots. No force of hand. Just people wanting what they want because they know the message. Warner Brothers says screw you. They are now in debt as a result of their machinations. And Netflix is triple their net worth. Zach is over there chilling, making masterpieces in art. And we're trying to get his baby back over there. Everybody gets it, except for a few knuckleheads. This is why this has become organic. So again, I keep stressing those old hashtags or whatever they are. If you want to use them, fine, whatever. I'm not begrudging you for it, but I'm also do not use them with ours. They're yours too, whoever's listening. But you got to follow the ROEs or else it's just not effective. It's just that simple. Anything else is just people being babies and egotistical This isn't about me. I don't gain shit from this. Okay, put it like this. I spent more money than I intended to going to Full Circle and trying to accomplish certain goals for hashtag sell. I have not gained any money from this. I didn't earn a buck from hashtag sell. I didn't earn a buck from Full Circle. I don't earn a buck being on this interview that I'm having a pleasure being in, right? I don't earn money from this.
Yeah, you're just passionate.
Oh, yeah, Ray. I just read what Ray said, right? But yeah, I'm just passionate. My name, you can look my name up with articles and you won't see Leon of the NuGeekz with hashtag sell. Hell, my name isn't even mentioned in Geekosity. And that's the homies magazine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mikey Sutton, for those of you who don't know.
Right. I don't have an article about me on Geekosity because I don't give a shit. I don't even want it. If Mikey wants to do one, I'm all aboard. But I'm not begging for clout. I'm the guy behind the scenes trying to get this shit done. I'm trying to find out everything I possibly can to push this thing forward. Nothing to do with ego. And if hashtags represent your identity and your ego, then you need to seek a therapist. If restore the SnyderVerse means that much to you that you're hurting inside and you're blaming hashtag self for it, why can't I use it? No, dude, that's Zaslav. Talk to James Gunn and Zaslav, but just do it without our hashtags. They're the ones you need to talk to and ask, why don't you like restore the SnyderVerse? You didn't give it to us. Not us. I didn't do anything. I didn't not restore the SnyderVerse. I'm trying to, just in a different way. I'm trying to get the SnyderVerse sold to Netflix in whatever way, shape, or form. I'm gonna just say this too, because I'm going on a kind of a tangent, sort of.
That's okay.
I'm gonna say
your tangents.
I'm gonna get to meat and potatoes. All right. I hear that every ounce in labor I put into making the event, plus driven from my deep passion, intention. Yeah, straight up. And AFSP, the most important thing out of all this, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I don't make a dime from that. It goes towards research in mental health and suicide prevention, right? So what I was going to say is this. Another reason why those hashtags are ineffective is because we don't even know how the SnyderVerse would be presented on Netflix once it gets bought, right? We don't know. And that's why our only two hard requirements as far as once it gets sold is it must be under the direction and or tutelage of Zack Snyder. If Zack Snyder is like, I'm gonna have a team of directors and I'll only direct a movie, but he needs to be under the tutelage. It needs to be under the tutelage of it. It needs to be under his watch. The director and his watch. It needs to be his baby, right? In his hands, him controlling it. That's number one. Number two, it must be live action. That's it. So that being said, did I say anything about Justice League 2 and 3, Man of Steel 2, Batfleck movie, blah, blah? No, I didn't. If they want to do those things, amazing. We would prefer them to do those things, right?
Oh,
but if
100%,
Zack,
I prefer like 5 movies, honestly, but
yeah, right, 100%. But just like Ben Affleck told Sky, if it comes in a different form, it's still the art, right? Ben Affleck was answering Sky's question when Sky didn't even ask Ben Affleck that. Sky asked Zack Snyder a question about hashtag sell, and Zack Snyder, he asked Zack Snyder short and sweet, if it gets sold to a third-party platform, would you be excited to do more work? Would you want to do more work with the SnyderVerse? And simply put, Zack Snyder said, yes, of course I would. Moving on to a different individual who asked a different question, to Ben Affleck, I think it was Josh actually that asked a different question. Shout out to Josh. Ben Affleck answered his question, and then he segued into answering Sky. He said, and this also touches on what that gentleman just asked Zach, and he pointed towards our direction where we're sitting, which is Sky, because he had just asked the question. And he said, if it comes in a different form, and that's literally what we mean, except for animation. No, it's got to be live action, and I mean that. A different form. If it's in a series, if it's in some short films that lead to something else, if they have to recast everybody, and that's just me talking. I don't speak for everyone with that. If they have to literally recast everyone, and it's still Zack Snyder's baby, I'm good with it. The SnyderVerse is Zack Snyder, Deborah Snyder. The SnyderVerse is not Henry Cavill. The SnyderVerse is not Gal Gadot. The SnyderVerse is not Ben Affleck. The SnyderVerse is not Chris Terrio. The SnyderVerse is not the key grip from Man of Steel. The SnyderVerse is Zachary Edward Snyder and Deborah Snyder. If it's under their watch and in live action, it could be in whatever form it comes. That's why those old hashtags are ineffective with what we are doing now. Because we do not know. How are we going to demand specifics other than the two we just named, right? How are we going to demand specifics to Netflix when we don't know what's what? We knew what was supposedly going to happen with Warner Brothers. We don't know what's what with Netflix. All we know is they probably have interest in buying this thing. They're probably waiting for certain things to transpire. Like the release of the Flash film, I don't know, and the results of Full Circle, I don't know. They're probably waiting for a couple of boxes to be checked and a certain quarter to be had. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
100%.
So with that, Netflix could come to Zack Snyder and say, instead of films, can you do a bunch of series so we can milk this thing? You get me? Instead of kicking off with this, instead of it just being a series, can we do some spin-offs into little short projects to fill in gaps in the series? Instead of just a series and some spin-offs, how about we do a series of spin-off in one movie instead of one movie? And it could be whatever. It could be a day. It could be like Justice League Unlimited, where there's an episode with Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, and Aquaman. And then the next episode, it's Henry Cavill, Wonder Woman, and Martian Manhunter. And then another episode, it's The Atom and Martian Manhunter, and they're trying to track step. You get what I'm saying? We don't know
100%.
what's what. So, yeah, like the whole entire point, shout out to Sky going live. The whole point of what I'm saying is we don't know in exactly the format that the Snyderverse would end up in. So our only demands from Netflix would be to obviously have Zack Snyder be the head of this thing and have it be in live action. And that's what eliminates all the bullshit of all of the baggage that all those hashtags carry. And there's a lot of those hashtags. That's why it's boiled down to two. The fandom needs to be streamlined so that Netflix can see what we are talking about. And I hope that makes sense to everybody hearing this.
Makes sense to me. So I guess here's kind of another question for you. So let's just say that this happens. Let's say Netflix makes the deal with Warner Brothers, Zack Snyder, everyone they need to make the deal with for the Ayer cut. And I know we said possibly other formats, but for now we'll just say Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3 and one other project with the Snyderverse/DCEU cast. If there could be one other project besides the Ayer cut and the completion of the arc, what would you pick?
You said besides Ayer cut and the completion of the arc?
Yeah.
The five movie?
Yes.
I mean, well, shit, that's obvious. It would be for Ben Affleck to come back and do a version of his film. There was a lot that went behind the scenes on that, and that's why I do not support the Batman. And I know Zach is cool with Matt Reeves, and it's nothing against Matt Reeves, and it's nothing against his team, and it's nothing against Robert Pattinson, and hell, it's nothing against even the new regime or whatever. It's just on principle, I know that title, The Batman, and that movie series was supposed to be in the hands of Ben Affleck. And Ben Affleck, being the Hollywood professional that he is, has said a bunch of shit to try to put the weight on him and the pressure on him that he couldn't crack it. But this is fucking Ben Affleck, bro. Like, come on. Of course he cracked it.
Yeah.
He's been a Batman fan before we were born. He was a Batman fan. You and I, right? He's the king. I just took the crown from you, bro. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's just saying he did Daredevil because that was the closest he could be to being Batman.
Oh, wow. Good point. That's 100% facts. He said that several times in interviews. And I got to take your crown and give it to Ben. So that's I'm fine. The third. You're the second. Ben's the first. But yeah, like, so on my little side note here, like, that's why I'm not, I'm very passionate about Ben Affleck doing his thing, because at Full Circle, once again, going back to Full Circle, it gave us too many gems. Ben Affleck revealed, I do feel the permission and celebration of the 3 films we have now is a good sign towards good faith relations with DC, WBD, whatever comes on. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, right? We know that there's good faith with Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca specifically, because they were thanked several times and cheered for by the fans. Not one mention was given towards DC Studios specifically or James Gunn. So take that for what you will. Well, actually, you can take it for what it means is that he has little to no say and had no involvement. And Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca are the ones that are building that bridge towards something. Hopefully, it's the selling of the SnyderVerse to Netflix or a third-party platform. So as far as Ben Affleck, man, it's just, he gave us a gem. He dropped jewels. He said, he was asked, I think it was in that same question where he pivoted towards Sky for a moment. I think during that question, he was asked what he would do with his Batfleck movie, right? And I don't know if anybody remembers what his answer was. He gave a few details, but I distinctly remember at the end, he said, and that's all the details that I'm willing to give. Zack Snyder withheld information, so did Ben Affleck. Throughout that entire 3-day Full Circle event, they were dropping jewels, gems, and information that would be spoilers if there was projects coming. Ben Affleck didn't want to drop these details. Why? Who knows? But it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities that he's holding information, because maybe there could be something going on behind the scenes to get that project done. And I want to see it. That's 100% the number. I want to see that more so than even like the sequels to Justice League. I'm a huge Batman fan. I'm that much of a Batman fan.
I think that's an easier project to do, though, than the sequel to Justice League, because it's a low-budget project. Not so much special effects, not as big of a cast. And I'm sure Artist Equity would love to have a Batman film on their production list, or whatever you would call that.
Oh, 100%. Imagine it, in the way that I'm saying that the Snyderverse can be sold to Netflix and the way they can go about doing it. Imagine them kicking off the Snyderverse with Ben Affleck's Batman movie, right? Imagine that. They kick it off with that, with the promise of more to come, simply because they're trying to gain traction and more money. Because people think very short-sighted. When they get this thing sold, man, we're talking merch, we're talking physical media, we're talking a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like, there's so many different ideas that could be had with it was interesting to me as well that they were just spilling beans about everything and truly they were done with it. Right. Exactly. They spilled the beans with a whole bunch of stuff. Except for certain things, they were like, nope. And it was like, that's fascinating. Why not talk about? And it was all Batman information, by the way. Why not talk about Robin's death? Why not talk about the details that he didn't want to divulge? And this is Zack Snyder and Ben Affleck separately on separate days. You know what I mean? It's not like they sat next to each other, nudging each other on separate days, away from one another. They both said nope, nope to answering Batman-related questions. Interesting. So that leads me to believe that the thing that I want the most could help kickstart this entire thing and have merch and all sorts of things that could bolster Netflix as a platform.
So before we move on to our final topic, our final section, which will be full circle, I guess to conclude this part, what's your ultimate hope for this movement? Like for your ultimate hope for the end game of the SnyderVerse movement?
Excellent question. I mean, ultimately, I hope that for the fandom, I hope they come away with, if they're watching, I don't know, but just in general, I hope they come away with the thought that like this is for them. You know, this is about everybody who said that they suffered when they heard that this was dead, right? I had people DMing me that I didn't even talk to because they knew how passionate I was as a fan, saying this shit sucks. You know, some people I didn't even write back immediately because I was just like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about the fact that now I have to focus on something else now. Every time I see Marvel, I have to know that like a lot of these mediocre movies have a trilogy. And as a fan, it pisses me off. But I have to be mature and, you know, go through my life and be like, it means nothing. Nah, man, as a fan, I get pissed, right? And so I hope that fans come away with the opposite feeling. Like, man, we were down and out, and now we have this hope. #sell. Let's just all get on board and stay on the train and see what happens. It won't hurt. Outside of the fans, I just hope ultimately that some third party platform steps up and takes it because it's viable, man. People shelled out hundreds of dollars to watch movies that we paid like $20 max for at one point, right? To see in theaters. Hundreds of dollars. You know, and that's before you get to plane tickets. People flew out from other countries to join Full Circle.
Took off
work. Yeah, I took off like a week. People don't even know. I was in San Diego, in California, for like days before the event. In total, I was gone for a week. You know, like Cali's like my second home. So I'm chilling. Nobody even knows I'm there. And you know, I sprung the surprise on day 2. You know, for many different reasons, strategic reasons, also just because it's fun. All that money that we the fans spent on all of this stuff, right? Like that cannot go unnoticed, right? So I hope that Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, I'll say again, I'm a book in that. I hope they see it and I hope they realize, like, give us what we want. Purchase the SnyderVerse. right? Warner Brothers, sell the SnyderVerse to Netflix. Give us the SnyderVerse in whatever live action form you choose to do, under the direction, tutelage, and watchful eye of Zack Snyder. That's what we want. I ultimately want that. That's it. You don't have to say my name in the annals of history. I don't give a shit. You can forget me after this. That's what I want. You know?
Corey's
Facts,
pulling a me
Corey.
right now.
Yeah.
I always do this on the Bat channel, and now I think I'm experiencing karma right now.
There you go. Netflix, baby.
And it's really amazing how you your answers perfectly transition to the next topic. Full circle. So you were kind of talking about that. So I want to first go over to what I think is one of the better parts of Full Circle. I'd say the second most important part right under AFSP is, what was it like meeting SylNation, Syl, Skywalker, other people, Rhea, meeting them in person for the first time? How was that?
Man, it was incredible. Because all the thoughts that you have about people online, they can either go out the window and a whole other narrative can be born, or it's everything you thought it was going to be. You're right, Scott. The real ones will know. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was dope, man. I'm trying not to sound egotistical. Okay, so another reason why I wanted to go, two reasons I wanted to go to California. One, I wanted to go because this is my second home. But two, I wanted to support in any way I could. And this is before I knew I could even enter the halls of Full Circle. Before I can shake Zack Snyder's hand, get him to give me a hug and hug his lovely wife and get in a selfie with her and his whole team. Before any of that came to fruition, I was like, man, I'm just going to go support, And another little side note, I wanted to see and look in the eyes of some people who have been in opposition in egregious ways. It's one thing to have simple disagreements. It's another thing to have people literally call you out your name and say things that in real life they would never fucking say to you to your face. Never. Never. I've never looked at
a computer screen.
100%. I've never looked at a 6 foot, 230-pound dude and thought I'm just gonna go talk shit to him. A guy who matches my height and build, right? I'm just gonna talk shit to him. Why? Why would I do that? That's now I gotta contend with. Maybe we'll tussle. I don't know. Who knows? My shirt's torn. Facts. I like that, Scott. I get a bruise somewhere. I broke my shades. I'm always rocking shit. Some nonsense. In other words, the respect to the threat of violence is always there with men who understand it, right? Same thing with women. Women aren't going up to each other just talking shit to each other. That are of especially have you ever seen a 5-foot woman and a 5'8" woman? They're just not. No, it's not happening.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, it's no. So I'm playing in a way, but I'm also so serious. I'm I'm not trying to act like a Billy Badass, but come on, man. We ain't got to do all this shit online, and it's just hilarious. So part of my little side note in my head was I can't wait to see certain people. And when I saw them, I had to look down. I could have rested my arm on some of these people's, the top of their heads. And I'm just I'm not even that tall. I'm just 6 feet. So it's but you guys talk like you're 7 feet tall to me online sometimes. Or you know, on occasion you do. You don't make a regular thing of it, but like, this is crazy. And so then when I see you, you're looking down, you're walking by, and like one individual in particular, I'm not going to name names, and I'm not going to go deep into it. I talked about it before when I was more amped. But like, I actually pointed at the individual. He looked at me. I made sure he looked at me. I said his little screen name or whatever it is. I don't know if his mommy named him that, because he's talked a lot of shit in the past. And he's kind of the reason why I'm inundated with SylNation and the Cool Table and the MikeyVerse. So shout out to him inadvertently, right? And I'm talking shit. And he was looking at me like, oh. And then Syl walked by and Syl's like, what? He's laughing. And I said, you see da-da-da-da-da? And he's like, I don't see nobody. And I said, you don't see da-da-da-da? He's like, I don't see nobody. And I called him and I said, oh, you don't see that? Mm-mm-mm-mm. And I'm saying it so he can hear me. And the guy knows. He's like, if that's not Sky and that's Syl, that's got to be Leon. Whoever it is, I'm not messing with it, because I'm gonna look down and look flustered and look away and you know what I mean? But like, again, keyboard warriors and all that. So I just wanted to know that I was right, because I've had people tell me in chats, oh, blah blah blah, woo woo woo, you know, you describe yourself and that don't mean shit. Like, bro, it means everything in life. And I'm not saying like you gotta be some bully. No. I'm a fucking chill dude. You can ask Syl and Sky and everybody that was there in the SylNation meetup. Like, I'm just trying to have fun. I'm trying to make sure everybody else is having fun. I'm trying to make sure everybody gets home safe. I'm trying to make sure we get where we're going and have fun and be safe. Like, I'm very a team player, and I'm not trying to be the center of attention. I'm not trying to lead. I'm like the lieutenant of shit. Like, there's people who want to be leaders, and I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I'll hang back and I'll just pay attention and I'll sit back and I'll just be quiet and watch. I'm that guy. I've always been that guy. And then inadvertently I end up leading some shit. It just happens. So ultimately, that portion, I'm just looking at people and I'm just like, don't none of y'all fucking want none. So just be cool online. That's all I'm saying. You see me, you see Sky, you see Syl, just chill the fuck out. If you have a negative opinion, just be cordial and be respectful. That's all. Because when I see you in person, you're going to do the same shit that you did when I saw your ass in full circle, which is not a fucking thing. Look away, look flustered, and look like a bitch. In 100% all honesty. So that was hilarious, right? But more important than all that, I really wanted to stamp that home, right? But more important than all that, meeting Syl was fucking dope. Syl really be out here getting love, and seeing that shit live warmed my heart. That shit was so dope. People walking up to him left and right going, yo, Syl, yo, Syl, yo, Syl, yo, Syl. And then by proxy, people are like, who are you? What's your name? I'm like, Leon. Like, oh, you got a Twitter? Yeah, at the NuGeekz. You're the NuGeekz? I'm like, oh yeah. Oh shit, I follow you, or I've seen you have a conversation, or I see you talking shit, bro. Do you think? Like, it was just cool. And oh, Sky, man, yo, you that dude, you're so brave. You went to Stone Quarry and da 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 da. Meeting Sky was dope. Like, he was a great host. Gracious dude. Will give the shirt off his back type of guy. And he really lives in a dope ass, lavish ass apartment. Like,
I thought it was a hotel.
I thought it was too until I saw the reality, right? So it looked like one of those fly ass hotels that you see people living in movies. And I sent the view to like various friends, quote unquote, that I know. And they were like, ooh, where are you? And I'm like, don't worry about it. No, where you at? I'm in Cali. Oh shit, da-da-da-da. Yeah, this the view, this the homie's crib. Like, oh, where y'all? Well, next time, if you acting right, you can come through. You know what I'm saying? But no, it was just dope, yo. Staying up with them, shooting the shit, chopping it up, just talking about like, just everything, right? And just knowing that they're real dudes. Cause like we're geeks and shit, but like we didn't really like we didn't break out a bunch of comic books and like start talking about like the Flash's origin or like Batman's underwear or some shit. No, we were talking about like real life shit. It was just cool to be around geeks and know that you can geek out and also just be cool, be adults. We went when we were all at dinner at the SylNation meetup. It was like a couple of instances where I'm hollering at somebody and she's like, "Oh, I'm married." I'm like, "Okay, cool. So what's up with you?" And then "Oh, I'm single." "Okay, cool. So what's up?" Blah blah blah. Slide me your number. Like I remember the waitress slid me her number. She's like, "Here you go. Here's all your drinks." And then she's like, grabbing my hand and sliding her number. I'm like, "Oh, okay, you slick with it." And then Syl's reaction was hilarious. Syl's like, "Yo, Leon is fast. That motherfucker is fast. You gotta stay on your toes." Oh man, we had everybody laughing, and then meeting the veteran, his brother. That was cool, and just meeting different people who rock out in the chat and rock out with SylNation, Cool Table, MikeyVerse. That was really cool. Meeting Rhea was dope. Rhea was pretty chill. Rhea was running around doing her thing. Oh man, I wish so many of y'all could have came, man. Like, man, if I had it like that, I promise you, I would have been like, "Here's a ticket, Batman. Here's it." Like, my goodness, I wish that shit would have been so live, man. That shit would have been so live. It was live with us there, but like, damn, man, like meeting everybody in person, it really solidified the Syndicate network. And like, this shit means something to us. And going forward, we're forever changed and we're going to do some big things together, slowly but surely. Crawl before you walk. We're not out here acting like we're Elon Musk. We're going to do our thing. And like, we'll definitely see each other again, Snyder related or not,
Yeah, I would love to meet all you guys in person. It sounds like it was a great event. I mean, not only did you meet, people in SylNation, but if you saw my thumbnail, you actually had pictures with both Ray Porter and Zack Snyder. Like, how was that, just meeting them, getting pictures with them? Like, how was that feeling?
Bro, that was incredible. Meeting Zack was all right. I'm gonna back it up because that's got to be last, right? So, all right. Talking to DJ, I'm just gonna sporadic shit. Talking to DJ, right? We're going into ZSJL and like DJ's walking in the hallway, or not the hallway, but the entrance, and he's chilling, walking slow. We're chilling, walking slow. I'm calling this man name out like I know him like that. I'm like,
Could you say who
DJ.
DJ is real quick for people who don't know?
He is one of the VFX artists for a lot of Zach's films, and he is a good friend of Zach. Look that guy up. Just type Zack Snyder DJ. You'll find a cool dude. And when I say, you'll see why he's cool with what I'm about to say, which is give me one moment. I gotta help somebody out real quick. Give me a moment.
Sounds good. But yeah, it just sounds like this was a really great event, like seeing SylNation in person, and this just love having Leon on here, just actually getting to speak the real facts about the Cell movement, about SnyderVerse to Netflix. It's just a really great thing, and it's just been really fun having him on, just discussing this. And I love this movement. And yeah, if I could have gone to Full Circle, I definitely would have. Unfortunately, it was last minute. I don't have the money for a ticket. I just actually got back. I knew I was going to just get back from another vacation I already had planned. So taking off work again so soon would not be great. And yeah.
I'm back whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so just recapping me with Full Circle. Anyway, go on with DJ.
Oh, so I saw a DJ. Me and Scott saw him actually. We were walking through the entrance, and I call out DJ, like I know the guy like that, and he turns around and he's like, I said to him, I said, "Yo," I said, "You're a gangster for what you did after that Jeff Johns question." And he goes, "Oh yeah," he starts laughing, And then he kind of he looked at me with a serious face and was like, I can say a lot about that guy like that. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, yeah, we don't talk about that guy around here, huh? He was like, yeah, nah, we don't. And we started laughing. He started laughing. And we just started chatting about Zach for a bit and dapped him up, and he was real cool. And then we went on in. That was a quite a highlight, because I'm like, for all you Jeff Johns supporters out there, if you fucks with Zach, stop supporting Jeff Johns. We don't talk about Jeff Johns around here. DJ don't fuck with Jeff Johns. Zach don't fuck with Jeff Johns. It's quite clear. Which brings me back to BVS Day. Briefly, you guys have heard it already, I'm sure, but somebody asked about Doomsday Clock, written by Jeff Johns, and
no problem, man. Thank you, Skywalker. Oh yeah, but yeah, go on about that, because that kind of actually will cover another question too. So
yeah, so fast forward, the guy's asking about Doomsday Clock, and Zach is like, yeah, I've heard of it. I'm thinking Zach's probably talking about Watchmen, the Doomsday Clock that's literally in Watchmen. And somebody was like, is that I think DJ said it, is that the comic written by Jeff Johns? And the crowd was saying it too. And they're like, yeah. And they drop the mic and they leave the stage. And Zach's like, probably not. And then me and Scott leap up out of our chairs and start hooping, hollering, and howling, yeah, like that. And Zach's looking at us laughing and pointing at us like, yo, like these two motherfuckers, right? And the guy who asked the question was in front of me, and he was sitting at this point. And I'm like, he still has a mic in his hand? Are you kidding me? So I grabbed that mic and I'm like, we don't talk about that guy around here. And everybody's like, oh, that shit was lit. I was like, yes. So what a moment. Then there's like just meeting them afterwards, meeting Patrick Tatopoulos. He's a cool ass dude, man. You can tell he's the type that like he's gonna speak his mind. I saw Zach watching him a couple of times, because you could tell he just speaks his mind, right? And he was talking some shit here and there himself, but like the highlight of speaking to him was talking about the Batmobile, and I was telling him that he has my favorite Batmobile, like literally, that he designed it, and I'm not just saying that, like I mean it, like it's a beast. And Syl saw this before I did. He started drawing on my poster, and I didn't ask him to. I was just chilling, because I was like, he asked me what's my favorite. I told him it's his, and then he said, what's your second favorite? I said 1989, and I said, what's his favorite? He said 1989, and then I said, not yours? He said, well, you know, and then we started laughing, and he said, you know what? And he started drawing, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm looking around, just chilling. For some stupid reason, I'm looking around. Syl goes, bro, do you see what he's doing? And I look, I said, oh shit, he's drawing a Batmobile on my poster. I was like, that is awesome. So Patrick Tatopoulos drew a Batmobile for me, and then like that prompted him to do it for like a couple other people, I think, because he wasn't doing that all along. So that was dope. And so I meet Goat Chill, aka the guy who played Joe Chill. We chop it up with him. He was a cool dude. Chopped up with DJ. This is the first time I chopped it up with DJ. He was cool as hell. Took pictures of all of them. Then I meet Deborah Snyder. Man, she's even more beautiful in person. Warm heart, kind spirit, smart woman. And I was just letting her know, like you are literally like, you're the foundation of this. Because like without what she does, like, none of this shit happens. She is like the unsung hero that is being sung about now, because Zach gets a lot of well-earned due praise. I feel like Deborah should get a lot as well, if not equally. You know what I mean? And I just want to let her know that, and she was like very, very sweet about it, about receiving what I was saying, and we took a picture together. We're like cheek to cheek and shit. I'm like, oh my god, I met Deborah. She's awesome. Then I meet Zach. Oh, and I'm like, Zach, like I know him like that. And he daps me up. He gives me a gentleman hug, you know what I'm saying? Give me a big squeeze. Got some ink on my jacket. And I just told him straight up, I was like, I just want to make a statement. And my statement was, I just want to catch his behaviors see what he would say. And I just wanted to say, like, maybe you had to withhold the information about the Robin situation because it needs to be the SnyderVerse needs to be sold to Netflix. And then he was like, well, yeah, maybe. And I was like, all right, and still didn't catch the rest on the video because he was filming for me. I had dapped him up again and we started chatting more and we were getting rushed. And me and Sil were like frozen in time, like we're not moving. So he booed us out. But no, I'm kidding when I say that, even though haters are gonna snipe it. We cornered him. But no, to back it up, during that conversation, Zach was so chill. He goes, Sil goes, are we filming or are we taking a picture? I said, both. And then I said, I'm not a director, but both. And then Zach started laughing and he said, yeah, both. And then me and Sil were like, always both. And Sil said, always both, right, Zach? That shit was lit. It is. Zach goes, always both. The famous phrase that he said on Vero to let fans know that, yes, I'm always cryptic and something else, always both, basically, right? It's always cryptic. It's always a message. It's always both. So yeah, that was a cool moment. Just as a fan, little nerding out over little Zachisms, right? Major League Zactivated from there. Dapping up Syl after that. And Syl took a dope video. He captured that whole moment. That was sick. So then we walk out. Sky walks out with the Grail, hashtag SnyderVerse, sell it, exclamation point. So that was dope. The whole experience was dope. And you could tell, like, because I was paying attention to people when they talked to Zach, and he had like sort of a different energy with us, just slightly. Because we weren't falling all over the place and acting, a certain way. And I'm not knocking anybody for that, but like we're just chilling. Like, I want to go have drinks with this man. I don't want to like be all googly gaga and nerdy. I just want to kick it with a homie, with a stand up dude. You know what I mean? That's the energy I had for him, and that's kind of the energy that I felt from him. Was just like a chill ass dude who just wants to talk. The same kind of energy you saw with Sky and Syl, where like he's talking about drinking and how they didn't give him a freaking pass or a freaking wristband. It was just Zach's just a cool dude, and he treats all his fans with respect. That was another thing I saw outside of us, was how Zach treats everybody, how Deborah treats everybody, like with love and respect. Like I use love as an action word where it's not, they're just saying it. Like they truly, like Deborah's not looking like she wants to wash her hands after talking to us, where Zach doesn't look like he's genuinely not trying to give us a hug, if that's what you're doing, They genuinely love interacting with their fans, and I thought that was really dope. So shout out to them for that.
And then Ray Porter, how was it meeting him?
Oh, I can't forget Darkseid, right? My goodness. He was really cool, man. Like, out of all of them, I think he might have been, I think Zach might have been second when it came to fan, because Zach's so busy, he can't really stick around for too long. I'll give Zach mad credit for this. I'm chilling, and I didn't ask for a selfie, but he's looking at me, because this is like the second or third time I met him. He told the guy, he goes, I gotta go. And then I'm just chilling, like I ain't gonna bother him. He goes, come on. You want a picture? Come on. I said, hey, all right, cool. And then he was like, all right, let's do it. Took a picture. He's like, cool? I was like, yeah. I was like, thanks, bro. He's like, hey, anytime. I got to get back in here. I was like, all right, see you in there, So that was cool. So, like, that's how they are. Ray Porter, man, this dude came. Okay, so he's coming out the bathroom, and I said, holy shit, Ray Porter, Lord Darkseid himself. And he was like, how you doing? And everybody's like, oh shit, because like he walked past people and people weren't reacting. I'm like, wait, what? Hold on. This is Darkseid, dog. Like, what? So I thought he was gonna be gone. I ran to the bathroom. That was the quickest piss I ever took in my life. I was like, I kept joking. I was like, if y'all don't hurry up, I will piss in this drain. And everybody bust out laughing at the bathroom. They were like, go for it, go for it. I was like, I'm about to go be a reporter. So we're just talking shit, shooting the shit, just talking to random people. Take a piss real quick, run out of the bathroom. He's still there. He's talking to fans. So I didn't even have to rush. That's the type of guy he is. He's standing outside the bathroom, literally taking pictures with mad people. I took a few with him, shot the shit with him a bit, and he said, I got to get back in here, guys, but I promise you, I will talk to all of you after we're done with the movie and the Q&A. And he did. Like, he literally walked outside of the theater and just stood around talking to people in groups, making people laugh. He was amazing. So Ray Porter's great. I got a lot of respect for Ray Porter, for real. For real.
Good. I'm really glad that was a great experience, like, and meeting them, just like actually like realizing that, you know, these celebrities are real people who just enjoy talking to people, which is what I've forgotten that when I meet celebrities at these kinds of conventions. But
Mhm.
just really sounds like Zack Snyder or Deborah Snyder, Ray Porter, just all genuine people. And just, I know they say never meet your heroes, but I feel like in this case, this is kind of the exception to that rule.
It's funny, that theme was in my mind throughout this interview. Never meet your heroes, blah, blah, blah. But like, because there's a lot of full circle was meeting people. Like I met Syl, Sky, various people from SylNation, MikeyVerse Cool Table, Syndicate Network, etc. Meeting Zack Snyder and his team. Every experience was amazing. From Zack to Syl to Sky, dope. So we totally obliterated that, phrase, never meet your hero. That's out the window when it comes to Zack, that experience, and the Syndicate Network for sure.
And I guess just kind of a final question to wrap this up. How did it feel when, and I know people challenge this, but I think it matters a lot, when Zack Snyder validated the Cell movement by signing Skywalker's poster? Hashtag SnyderVerse sell it.
That was dope because people keep thinking of it in a sense of, and purposefully a lot of it, they keep thinking of it in a sense of, oh, well, they keep thinking of what it doesn't mean. Like, oh, it doesn't mean this, it doesn't mean that. Well, let's think about what he could have done alternatively. He could have just said, hey, look, man, sorry, I can't do it. And then Scott could have been like, oh, okay, I understand. Yeah, you know how it is, come on, that's specific. Sorry, man. He could have did all that. He could have did all of that. Instead, he looked at Sky and was like, shook his head like, And the way I read that was he has to figure something out. I would like to stamp this home for you guys. How do I do it? Because Zack Snyder is or was an employee of Warner Brothers, and he's currently an employee of Netflix. For him to put Netflix, he's stamping something. He's stamping a product of Warner Brothers with someone who is at the moment their competition, Netflix. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. He didn't have to write anything. He didn't want to, but he chose to because he believes in this.
Right. So with that being said, instead of stamping a Warner Brothers product with their current quote unquote competition, instead he hints at what we want in the future. Because the future could be, instead of Netflix being a rival, they could be a complement, like Peter Safran had said. He was the first one to say sell. Remember that? Peter Safran.
Yeah.
The co-head of DC Studios.
The one that Zaslav wanted.
Correct. I famously in the fandom, stressing that I'm not saying I'm like some sort of celebrity, famously scream, "The man said sell." Well, I was talking about Peter Safran. He said sell to Amazon, to Hulu, and Netflix, right? He said sell to those entities, right? And he said selling to third-party platforms will be a complement to DC's brand. So Zach cannot officially stamp the competition as it stands right now. He can't stamp DC Warner Brothers product with the competition while hosting a Warner Brothers held Pam Abdi at Mike DeLuca event. There's a lot of layers to this. Now, with that, we know that Warner Brothers and DC views third-party platforms as a potential complement to DC as a brand. So instead of Zach scoffing at the entire thing, Zach instead says, I have to do something to shine a light on this because I was asked to do so. I was asked by a fan to do it. Instead of turning him down completely, which I could have done, I don't want to do because it's not necessary to turn him down completely. I could just flip it. Hashtag SnyderVerse, which is something he's never done ever until the Cell movement was born. I just want to point that out. Hashtag sell SnyderVerse to Netflix. Suddenly he's hashtag SnyderVerse. Just want to point that out. Anyway, he's now using hashtag SnyderVerse, and then he put sell it. He didn't have to do that. He's hinting at the bridge between Netflix and Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers stands to gain a lot from selling the SnyderVerse to Netflix, right? But he can't officially put a stamp on the Netflix side of it. He can't. He put a stamp on it when he okayed the shirt that you're wearing. Thank you for wearing it.
No problem. I
That
love
was
this shirt.
that was the first time that he unofficially signed Sell It, was when his team okayed hashtag sell over ZSJL merchandise. That was the first time. The second time, and the official number one time, right, was when he put it on the poster. Now, because y'all know I'm long-winded, I'm gonna wrap it up. That being said, that shirt aside, that poster aside, Zack Snyder, out of his own mouth, in a video that is about 2 minutes and 20 seconds, I don't know, minutes long, from the time Scott asked about hashtag sell and on a third-party platform, and if Zack Snyder would love it, and if he would love to continue Snyderverse, to the time Zack Snyder finished it, about 2 minutes, 25 seconds. Zack Snyder answered, again, put that shirt aside. You could take it off right now. No, I'm just kidding. Crumble up that poster. Chuck it in the trash if you want. Zack Snyder said out of his mouth, after being asked about the potential of hashtag sell and how he feels about it, he was asked about it. He answered with his own words. This is why I don't give a shit about what people think about that poster. I don't care about what people think about that shirt you're wearing. I don't give a shit about what y'all think about these hashtags. I give a fuck about what Zachary Edward Snyder thinks about these hashtags. And according to him, he's okay with them. He's cool with them. And as a matter of fact, he told Skywalker, listen, that's a great question. And that's a fair question. ... Yes, of course I would. And then, after being asked by Skywalker, he signed hashtag SnyderVerse, sell it. But again, you don't like the poster? Cool. I don't want to talk about it. You don't like the shirt he's wearing? Cool. I don't want to talk about it. But what you ain't gonna do is sit here and talk shit like Zach didn't tell us out of his mouth what he, of course, wants. Great question and a fair question. Yes, of course, I would love to continue the Snyderverse. He said this. I don't give a fuck about what these haters say, the naysayers say, and people on the fence. If you're on the fence, fall over to our side, because it makes no sense to be on the fence. Zack Snyder's not on the fence. He may not have a say in what happens, right? Because he's not a money guy at Netflix, but he's given his input. That was a part of the mission plan walking into full circle. We need to get on record Zack Snyder saying he wants to continue the SnyderVerse. Because again, I say again because this is talked about in previous videos, Grace Randolph came in lying, saying that Zack Snyder is going to sing his swan song on the SnyderVerse. And other betas and lames, jabronis and jackasses were also saying the same thing. Zack Snyder is going to say bye-bye to the SnyderVerse. No, instead he said, he said, yes, of course, I would love to continue the SnyderVerse. That's what he said. It's not a lie. I didn't make that up. It's on Vero. It's on the video that I recorded and posted on Twitter. It's out there in the world. You can't bottle it up anymore. It's out there. And that's what pisses them off. And that's why they nitpick a damn poster. That's why they nitpick your shirt. So they nitpick everything we say. Because you can't tackle the truth. The truth is what he said. You could talk shit all you want. The Our Movie Newses of the world and anybody else who's discussing that poster. Fine. I don't like the poster now either. I don't care. Sorry, Sky. I'm joking, obviously, but I don't care about that poster. Me fake mad. Poster sucks. Cool. What you gonna do about Zack Snyder then? You gonna call him a liar? I don't like that shirt that Batman's wearing. Screw you, Good Austin, for designing it. Screw you, Wayne T. Carr, for giving us that logo. Cool. All right, cool. Shirt's dumb. This poster's dumb. What about Zack? What you got to say about him? He flamed the entire thing. He boosted our narrative. We are Zacktivated. We walked out new people. It's a go, baby. Zack Snyder wants his baby back. That baby is the SnyderVerse. Say what you want about everything else. He wants the SnyderVerse back. That's what I walked away from full circle, knowing 100%. And everybody else did too.
Yeah, and I really got, because it's only matters if Zack Snyder wants to do it, and he does. And I ain't nitpicking anything. Zack could have said no, because he doesn't have to write something just because someone asks him to. He chose to do that, and that is a win. And that's just why I love what Sky, what Snyder Queen, what Syl, Necron, El Necron, the good Austin have all done for this movement. It's been really great, and I'm just really happy to have you on here highlighting this all. And we'll kind of just end this with what's coming up. So one thing I do want to mention is that you see this awesome shirt I'm wearing. It's sold out, but fear not. There are more shirts. All proceeds go to AFSP, by the way. More shirts for Sell SnyderVerse Netflix, sells ZSJL to Netflix, designed by Noel Flores, the artist for Dreamwalker. The link is in the description. Check it out. There's so many dope shirts out there. I can't even choose which one I want yet. So anything you want to add to that?
Just thank you, Noel Leon Flores. We Leons and Noels have to stick together. Our names flipped and shit, I'm just kidding. But no, man, Noel went way out of his way, because like the original idea I came up with, I was just like, hey, can you do the Justice League kind of walking over a hill kind of thing. Almost like they're walking up and they've achieved a goal. That's kind of the feel I was trying to give. And I was saying, I don't know about copyright and all that. You could just kind of have them look painted, almost like an old painting, so you can avoid copyright. And then just stick a mirror in there, because I wanted something, as well as Wayne T. Carr and Martian Manhunter. I wanted everything to kind of look futuristic, because like Martian Manhunt, like Wayne T. Carr was not in the cut that we saw. So I was like, Wayne T. Carr is special. And then throwing Mara in there is like things to come, right? So I wanted the shirts to be representative of what #Sell is about, which is futuristic events, futuristic projects, right? And it was like I was trying to keep it simple for him. But Noel was like, I will have none of that simple shit you're on. I will give you everything and then some. So that's why you kind of see them walking towards, you know, and in a lot of shots you see the Justice League walking towards the screen, quote unquote, as it were, because that was kind of the idea, to have them walking up a hill or walking towards, and he wanted it in great detail, and I thank him profusely for that. Like, those details rival that of the great Jim Lee. Like, Noel Leon Flores went all out. I actually told everybody I'm looking forward to purchasing his shirt even more so than the one Jim Lee designed, because it was just that badass. Like, the details, bro, and watching the process and videos, incredible stuff. So thank you, Noel Leon Flores, and he represents the MikeyVerse, of course. So salute to him.
Yeah, thank you, Noel, for everything you're contributing to this movement as well. It's just really great seeing people go out of their way, above and beyond, to support this fantastic movement. And I love the collaboration of it all. So I guess before I end this show, is there anything you have coming up that you would like to promote? Any?
I do have a bunch of little projects that were in development before #Sell. But because we were so focused on that, I put them all to the side, and I was like, you know, pretty much needed behind the scenes. We're gonna get back to those projects. I can't really speak on the specificity of it all, the specifics, right? Can't really speak on those. I'm gonna be like Ben Affleck, and that's all the details I would give. But no, seriously, there's gonna be some fun stuff. There's gonna be some Batman related stuff that I really, I think that's the first thing I want to tackle, because it's something near and dear to my heart. This project, and I may even have like, I thought of you, but also like Trey, and Corey. It's gonna be like a cool table event, but just get like a few more Bat related channels involved, possibly. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna be something cool. Yeah.
Nice.
What were we gonna say?
Can't wait for that. I said nice. Can't wait for that. So can't wait to hear more about that.
Yeah, for sure. So that's one thing. Austin and I would like to do a Cowboy Bebop analysis of the anime. Obviously, when I say Cowboy Bebop, I mean the anime. I keep forgetting the live action thing exists. That may be the one, the one chink in Netflix's armor that they quickly resolved. Right? They even knew, like, this ain't it, right? And there's definitely a project that I would want to do that me and Mikey are working on. But as of something official, the only thing official is more things to come with #Sell ZSJL to Netflix, #Sell SnyderVerse to Netflix. Stay tuned. Stay tuned, as Zack Snyder said.
And I will be tuned. I will definitely stay tuned in for that. I can't wait to hear more about that. I guess the only thing for me is I did a Justice for Fives video for Star Wars Day. So if you watch Clone Wars, check that out. It's a really, I'm really proud of that video. And coming up, I have, I guess since Corey and I talked about this, I'll advertise. I'll be bringing Corey on my channel to do a Man of Steel review, bringing on Super Bro Corey for Man of Steel. So we'll get a time sorted out for that. So be on the lookout for that. And I really appreciate you coming on, Leon. I had a really great time talking about this with you. And thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm looking forward to that review too. The more Man of Steel love, the better. And who better than Super Bro Corey himself and you, Bat Dan? That's gonna be cool. I gotta send y'all a review I did of Man of Steel. I sent it to Mikey on my letterbox. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, I appreciate you having me on. This was cool. I didn't know what to expect. I like the spontaneity of it. And yeah, I appreciate you guys just hearing me shoot the shit and just, tell my story. It was really cool.
And I had a really great time listening to your story. And if you want to hear more interviews like this, see more discussions like this, please hit the notification bell so you never miss another episode. And like, share, subscribe, and comment. So, and again, thank you for coming on, Leon. I had a really great time, and I will be actually heading over and watching Skywalker stream soon, so check that out. And lastly, have a bat-tastic day.
Bang.